Exemption section 11. What is called exempt supply? Nil rated okay. Okay, I can cancel this. Wholly exempt from tax, non-taxable supply. All these things are considered as exempt supply. Nil rated, wholly exempt from tax, and non-taxable supply. Non-taxable supply are the supply not covered under GST currently not covered petrol, okay, and alcoholic liquor for human consumption not at all covered. How do we get the exemption, or how the exemption may be notified? So usually the exemption may be notified under four bases. Okay, one is activity or transaction based. Certain activity or certain transaction will not be considered for the taxation. Another one is who supplies it. If X supplies, it is taxable. If Y supplies, it is not taxable. Supplier based exemption. Another one is recipient based exemption. Who receives it? If I send to X, it is taxable. If I send to Y, then it is exempted. Both supplier and recipient based exemption also will be there. It's only idea to have the idea in your mind. Activity or transaction based, some examples. If you are transferring your entity completely as a going concern to the other party, ownership transfer. You have to surrender your registration, the new transferee should register for him. In that case, while transferring the business, it's not going to be falling under GST. Renting of residential dwelling for residential use. Okay, renting of any commercial property will come under GST. But in case renting of residential dwelling, GST is not there. So how many of you are living in rented premises? Are you paying any GST for that? No GST, right? In case of supplier based exemption, if the supply being rendered by government services, okay, or services by RBI. So service provided by government, service provided by RBI. And that too, in case of government services where the consideration is less than or equal to 5,000, usually not taxable. Is that clear? What are the government services are there? Issuing the birth certificate, death certificate, testing and certifying you to qualify a driver to be a driver, driving license, and any other legal requirement, registration of your company. These are the things that are given by the government. In some cases, it will be exemption. We will see that later on. In case of service rendered by RBI, also exempted. Recipient based. Insurance service. Insurance service where if you take for the premium, you have to pay the GST. If the same insurance service, okay, given to the government and then the premium is fully paid by the government, then it is exempted. See, LIC, if Tata takes the insurance, okay, the premium being 1 crore and GST will be leviable at the rate of 18%. The same LIC is now taken by the government of India for underprivileged people, for a society, underprivileged people. For that, the premium paid by government of India to LIC, 100 lakhs. And what about the GST? Not applicable. Hope you will be now able to understand. If the service rendered to whom? Government. Similarly, training services to the government where total expenditure borne by the government. Training. You might have heard about the NCVT, SCVT, National Council for Vocational Training. Lots of training programs are now government offers now and then. Have you heard about those schemes? Skill development programs, Skill India. There are a number of programs. Now, most of the colleges attaching those programs in their own curriculum. And the students will get extra certifications without any additional fee payment. Okay. In Singar Academy also we conducted one program routed through that NCVT for training the account students. Okay. But it was not successful as it is free. Students are not responding properly. So I said, okay, we don't. Actually, we got the admission for 30. That's a maximum capacity. We fill the capacity, fill the full capacity. But the student attended the program were only 6 or 7. And for the certification date, examination date, all the 30 students present again, no one could answer. So only, I think, 6 students cleared that exam. We were paid based on the number of students cleared. We conducted classes for 30, but we got the salary for payment is for only 6 students. I said we cancel this program hereafter. Okay, if students are not interested in why not? So that those programs, so the payment is made by government. Okay, if you are paying me, GSTs will be attracted because I'm rendering service to you. Payment is done by students participating. Then GST is attracted. Students attending, payment is from the government, GST will not be there. Is that okay? Both supplier and recipient based exemption. ESI corporation services provided to persons covered under ESI Act. Person covered under ESI. C. Employer, employee. Okay, as per the legal requirement, employee rendered service to employer. As per the ESI requirement, employer has to not only pay the salary, contribute some amount for ESI. It may be contributory. Employer also contributes, employee also contributes certain amount. Right? Clear? Now, the service provided by ESI to employer will not be taxable. This service is not free. Employer deposits the money to ESI account. ESI helps for any medical emergency of the employee to release the payment, or maybe in their ESI hospital they will treat at free of cost. Those things are maybe possible. Okay, this is the mandatory requirement. ESI corporation renders service to persons under ESI Act. Who are the persons? Registered employer. Employer having more than 20 employees should get registered themselves for the PF Act, and PF automatically linked with the ESI. In these cases, the employer gets service from ESI, and for that service, GST will not be attracted. IRDA services to insurers. IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. Okay. C. LIC. LIC can release a product. For them, product means different policies like Jeevan Anand, Jeevan Suraksha, and like all the n number of policies they have. Before releasing that policy, LIC has to prove what? Whether the premium collected is sufficient enough to pay in case of emergency. Anything happens worst. I collected 1 lakh rupees premium, stating that I will give 1 crore rupees. Then all the investors gave me the premium 1 lakh per head, collected from n number of persons, and with 100 crores I am absconding from India. Now something worst happens, I have to give the compensation. No, there is no such a person available in India. Then this is a problem. So LIC, before launching the product and before it started collecting the premium, should ensure whether the premium is sufficient enough to repay the compensation or whatever the commitment they are fulfilling. For that, actuarial scientist will be there. Actuarial science, that's a special course. So actuarial scientist will value whether the premium is sufficient enough for paying the guarantee given by the LIC, using the permutation combinations and the probability of risk involving in for paying the claim and all. No. After certification, IRDA will certify this product can be launched. So now it is routed through IRDA. Before launching that product, LIC should get the approval from IRDA for a fee. So fee is paid and IRDA releases the certification that this product can be launched. This is a service between IRDA and LIC, and for this service GST is not attracted. So how could be the GST structures, manner of exemption? Okay, now section 11 gives the power to grant exemption. Okay, so section 11 only. So if the government gives a exemption, now the question is, will the government be able to give the exemption? Yes, whatever the exemption given, no, it should be authorized in the act itself. Tax is also levied by the government as per the constitution's power. Similarly, government can give the exemption as per the power given in section 11. The grant of power to grant the exemption is given under section 11. If you question, will the government have the power to grant the exemption? Yes, sir. Where you can go and say section 11, it gives the power. What sort of the power? So the government can give the exemption under general exemption category or special case exemption. Okay, these are the two. So general exemption and special case exemption. General exemption means uh, exemption for all. Okay. So government may exempt goods or services fully or partially in public interest. Public interest. For example, letting out of the property for residential dwelling is not subject to GST. That's what about the general interest. Already rent is huge, and with that, if I add another GST, it will be really burdensome for the tenants. So government, for the public interest, offered this one. Sir, I am being the tenant, sir. 10,000 rupees per. I am capable of paying 1,800 rupees GST also. I compulsorily want to pay the GST. Will I be able to pay the GST? No. If it is being the general exemption, you cannot escape. You have to claim that exemption only. You have to enjoy that exemption only. You understand? What about the specific exemption? Exemption may be given with some conditions. Okay. If you fulfill this condition, you will avail the exemption. If you don't fulfill the condition, you don't avail that. So, if you want to get the exemption, you are bound to fulfill the condition. And if you feel that I don't want to get exemption, I may pay, I'm willing to pay, then you violate the condition and you can pay. It's an option. So, hope you will now be able to understand the two differences. General exemption is compulsory, and special exemption sometimes maybe based on some conditions. And this is general exemption is public interest based exemption. Usually council will give the recommendation. After the recommendations received from the council, via notification government may announce the exemption. Okay. Special case exemption. Okay. Special case exemption means government may exempt some specific cases due to exceptional circumstances, like during the COVID time, lots of taxes were reset to lower level because already people are suffering a lot financially because of no employment and whatever it may be. So immediately government announced lots of rate cuts. Okay. So exceptional circumstances. In that case, they have the power. This is granted via special order with the stated reason. It's a notification, it's a special reason. Okay. These are the two. Now, while stating the exemption, now there's a confusion by the recipient, supplier. Will I be able to enjoy the exemption or not? Will that condition be applicable for me or not? So, because lots of legal jargons seems to be confusing me. So, lots of legal means confusions is there, means government now and then will release a clarification. Government may add clarification to any exemption notification order within 1 year of issuance. Maximum within 1 year, the issuers, when supplier will get confusions, they will send the query, and the government, after analyzing all this query, gives the clarification. Already we have studied, in case of supply, GST council clarification, and some payment case council clarification. Similarly, for the exemption, council clarification will be there. Okay, such a clarification are usually retrospective. Retrospective means from the date of issuing the exemption predominantly. Exemption is started from this date. 6 months later, there's a confusion, and government gives the explanation. And if that clarification is applicable from the date of issue of clarification, no sir, from the date of announcing the exemption itself. Explanation. If an exemption is absolute, suppliers cannot collect tax beyond the effective date. Okay. Absolute means compulsory. Okay. Absolute means compulsory. Already told compulsory. Subject to condition, without condition. Subject to condition, usually general exemption falls under absolute condition. Special case exemption may come under conditional also. So we can clarify this in two aspects. Classify this into two aspects: absolute and conditional. Usually general will fall under absolute only. In case of special case, it may fall under absolute or conditional also. So in case of conditional, most probably conditional means if you want, you have to fulfill and enjoy the exemption, else you leave. So we have completed the theory. Now, goods exempt from taxes. Supply of services as well as supply of goods we have, So we have a list of exemption for supply of services and list of exemption for the supply of goods. Anyhow, for your examination purpose, supply of goods, exemption related to the supply of goods are not applicable for your examination. But for the learning purpose, few items are falling here, like live fish, fresh milk, potatoes, grapes, Indian national flag, plastic bangles. These are the few examples falling under this one, but of course not applicable for your examination. But in case of exemption related to the service, very, very important for your examination. Those lists are available comprehensively in your book. Okay. Now let's start with the exemption related to the services one after one. Clear? Now I have grouped all the, see, in Act we use numbers as section number 1, 2, 3 and all. Right. In rules, we use the number being rule number 1, sub rule number 1 of 1. All these things we use, right? But in case of exemption, it is numbered as entry 1, entry 2. But here I have not listed all these things sequentially. I grouped based on its own character, manner. Probably services related to education, I grouped comprehensively. Services related to the construction, services related to letting out of the property. Okay. Now let's start. This is the predominant section. Most of the exemptions falls under this case. Exempt related to charitable and religious activities. Any charitable and religious activities, for that if you are rendering any services, usually those services are not subject to GST, subject to some conditions, not absolute. Okay. Second set, this is the first set. Second set. So here how many entries are there? 1, 13, 60, 80. 4 sets are going to be discussed under this. Of course, entry number not required to be memorized, right? For the understanding, for the cross reference, if there is any doubt in that, you can go and see the bare act of this exemption list, entry number 1. If you go on, you will get full details, right? 4 entries are there. Then agricultural related services also most probably exempted. One is charitable and religious. Second one being the agricultural related services. Here we have around 6 items. 6 items. And educational services and healthcare services, hospital healthcare services, and exemption where those services provided by government. If the service supplier being the government, and most of the cases exemption, no, those things are coming here. And services provided by central government, state government, union territory, those things are exempted. Electric, then then transport services, passenger transportation and goods transportation services, and services provided to central government, those services also exempted. Financial services, banking services, already explained, no, for the bankers they render some services which attracts tax and may not be taxable. GST is not attracted. Blocked credit also we have seen. So they will claim only 50% ITC. That's how we discussed in ITC chapter. You just remember that. And life insurance and general insurance services. And services provided by specified bodies. If the supplier being these bodies, ESA, EPF, coal mines, Provident Fund, National Pensions Fund, these service, any service rendered by this entity are not be taxable. Okay. And legal services, sponsorship services. Okay. Admissions to museum, theme park, those cases. And those not listed separately also given as other exempted services. These are the services. You are not asked to memorize all as it is, but understand the logic, especially the exemption criteria due to the conditions. Now let's see exempt services related to charitable and religious activities. Okay. Now understand that trust trust falling under section 12AA and 12AB. Okay. We have not studied the trust in our syllabus at the inter level. Trust. Okay. In case of trust, how they will be taxed and how they will be claiming the exemption and all, given under section 12AB currently. 12AB. If the trust registered under section 12AA, then they will render the activities predominantly charitable activities. Predominantly charitable, because this trust is all about charitable trust. Charitable and religious trust or religious trust. Charitable activities. And non-charitable business related activity also they can involve now and then. In charitable trust rendering charitable activities, most of the activities are exempt, some may be not exempted, most of that. So from this very clear, first entry being charitable services by entities registered under section 12AA and 12AB of the Income Tax Act. Entry number 1. To qualify the exemption, the following condition must be met: registered under section 12AA or AB of Income Tax Act, and they should involve that specific charitable activities. Now, what are they? What are they? Let's see. Let's see. Now, trust registered under 12AA renders public health services and religion related services, education and skill development services, preservation of environment services, preservation of environment. These are the predominant services you have to keep in your mind: public health, religion, education, preservation of environment. As already told you, all the charitable activities not exempted. There are some activities are also be taxable, though it may be charitable activity. So you have to find out what are the activities may be exempted here. What are the activities may be exempted here. In case of public health, now let me list. Two aspects are there. One is care and counseling given. Another one is awareness program. Two aspects. One is care and counseling given. To whom? Terminally ill persons, persons with severe physical and mental disabilities, persons being affected by HIV and AIDS, addicts of drugs and alcohol. So these are the team. For them, care and counseling given, no. So those activity involving some costs will be totally exempted. GST will not be leviable. Apart from that, awareness program also be given. The awareness program given for preventive health, family planning, or HIV prevention. So once they got affected, care and counseling will be given, and training them not to get affected due to that. So preventive health and family planning, HIV prevention, all this activity if you involve not attracting any GST. Advancement of religion, spirituality and yoga. Any religion, spirituality, yoga, any advancement related to that by conducting a yoga camp and spiritual meet gathering, any amount collected that for that will be donation only. GST will not be attracted. GST will not be attracted. Education and skill development. Education and skill development. Education and skill development. For what? Not all sort of education. Education given to abandoned, orphaned, homeless children, or physically, mentally abused, traumatized persons to them, prisoners, persons with age 65 plus, residing in rural area. See, whenever I give the bold no, those things were asked in the previous year's exams. Because education, skill development, okay, abandoned, physically or mentally abused prisoners, that you'll guess easily. But the last case, senior citizen. Now you get confused whether it is 60 or 65, whether it is all are living only in rural. So it clearly stated the age is 65 plus and living in rural area, else taxable. These are the cases only. These are the cases only. Now, preservation of environment like watershed, forest, wildlife. If you are incurring any expenses, any activities for preserving all these things, for those activities, any amount collected, no, not taxable, exempted. Non-exempt activities, non-exempt activities. Non-exempt activities where GST applicable. For example, in your charitable trust, okay, you place a board for public come and advertise for promoting their own product, and for that any revenue is generated, taxable. Grant of advertising rights for publicity in their trust premises among the trust people, and ticket events, any event conducted by the trust by collecting tickets, ticket fare collected, entrance entry fare, functions, celebration or shows, anything conducted. So lots of trust having buildings and property. Some public will go for a temporary programs and events by paying some compensation. So we too had a deep study camp for a week's period in a trust run premises. So wonderful premises. We offered them payment. But they said we run only not for profit motive, sir. We have the orphanage of 50. So we thought, okay, rather than paying any rent and other thing, we prepare the food for all the 50 for the entire 7 days, along with our students, and they also had the food with us. So that services, in that case, for that services, any amount collected, no, subject to GST. Any other activity not classified as charitable, not classified as, if it is not being charitable, I already told you, know, non-charitable will be always taxable. In charitable, most of the activities are exempted, few are the taxable. Hope you'll be now able to understand this. Now, let me break down further. Education services. What sort of education? Especially education skill development for orphans, abandoned children, abused persons, prisoner, especially this one. Rural area means the village as per the land revenue records. We have studied that in income tax. What is called rural area? That limit is no population based on the population 10,000, 10 lakhs, and all this population will be based on that. We will decide. Non-exempted education institution run by trust not fulfilling charitable criteria. Trust running any coaching centers like, or probably you might have seen in most of the schools they educate NEET coaching and JEE coaching, including CA foundation coaching inside the campus during the plus 1 and plus 2. But for the plus 1 plus 2, what the curriculum mentioned for availing the qualification, no, that will be exempted. If additional fee collected for the NEET and JEE and CA coaching, for that GST is applicable, even it is run by the school under the name of trust. Okay. However, may be exempted under entry 66 if qualifies on educational institution. We'll see that later on. Hostel accommodation by trust. This is not considered as charitable activity under GST. So GST is applicable. Hostel accommodations. Okay. Some trust, you know, there are lots of trust run by Christian missionaries, youth, women's and boys hostels, or YWCA, YMCA, Christian Association. They run lots of hostels. Any amount collected is not charitable, will be falling under taxability only. Is that clear? Now, let's discuss the illustrations, some practical illustrations from this topic. Divya Chetna Trust, a charitable trust registered under Section 12AB of the Income Tax Act, has organized a spiritual discourse session for devotees. Already we told you, no, spiritual discourse section. This is completely exempt. This is completely exempt. Now, a charitable trust registered under Section 12AB of the Income Tax conducts a skill development program for senior citizen. Already told you, no, this was asked as a question. Residing in Trichy urban area. Okay. So this will be taxable, because rural area should be. Rural area should be. Don't say yes, no, taxable, exempted. Don't write. Write with the full details. Okay. To qualify exemption, the age should be 65 plus. Second condition should live in the rural area. First condition satisfied, second condition not satisfied. Hence, in this case, it is taxable. That's how you can answer it. First one is over. Now, let's go for the entry number 2. Religious services. Religious services. See what happens. You might have seen lots of religious centers. Somewhere the religious center seems to be a big mall like also. Once I visited a temple in Bangalore. They asked me, it's a beautifully renovated and newly built, very lucrative. You can come and see. Once we started going for the journey, it's a big queue. Mantra chanting and all these things were there, and was happy. The moment darshan is over, thereafter the queue is double the size of the queue what we had at the time of going for the prayer. That queue is for all the India variety food and accessories were sold while returning that. Okay, all the varieties, food from Rajasthan, Punjabi, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, all the foods are available. We tempted to taste. We forgot about the darshan. Okay. So now what happens? The religious charitable trust will have two categories. One is business like, another one is being charitable. It's not purely religious alone. So what are the services done by religious trust or religious entity? Maybe religious services. Sometimes they may have the spaces, can let out the property for devotees in Tirupati, right? And even in Srirangam also there's an Yatra Nivash for non-resident people coming for visiting Srirangam can stay there. So beautifully designed. I surprised to see the rent being 150, 200 rupees only. Very cheaper. Means they don't have the intention to make any profit. And sometimes the marriage and other things, okay, ear piercing ceremony and all, no, conducted within the premises of the temple. And where there may be mandapam also, hall may be available. So by paying some extra donation, they will get. In those cases, certain extent of amount will be considered as exemption. Beyond that will be taxable. Is that clear? Let's see. So two things are there. What are they? One is pure religious services. Another one is letting out of the other areas like conduct of religious ceremony. Exempt charges for conducting religious ceremony. Any charges collected for conducting religious ceremony. For darshan, 100 rupees darshan, 500 rupees darshan and all there, no. For those fee you pay, no, that fee will not be GST, attracting GST. Religious ceremonies, okay, like birth, marriage, death ceremonies, okay, in those places, okay, those things also be not considered, okay. So any birth, marriage and death ceremonies are conducted and by the priest or in the temple, the premises are used, no, that will be completely exempt. Such ceremonies must be conducted as per religious text by authorized person, the priest. Then this will not be taxable. And renting. The renting is the second predominant one. So what are the things are there? The temple will let out property for what purpose? For devotees to stay and for shop to sell the puja items and other items also nearby in their vicinity of the temple, and halls for organizing any programs there. So in case of rooms, the charge should be less than 1,000, then not taxable. If it is more than 1,000 or 1,000, then automatically GST will be attracted. In case of community halls, Kalyana Mandapam and premises like where the charges is more than 10,000 per day, GST will be attracted. In case of shops, the charges is more than 10,000 or 10,000 per month will be subject to GST. Okay. So understand these three numbers. 1,000 for room per day, 10,000 rupees is the hall rent per day, 10,000 for the shop rent per month. So these are the numbers. Below that, exempted. Exempts renting of precincts. Precincts means nearby the religious places for the general public subject to certain ceiling limit. The limit is given. And religious place means primarily meant for prayers, worship, meditation and spirituality. General public, large group of people, common public interest. Precinct means immovable property within or surrounding other religious places. So I have just explained the terms also used here. Now, any taxable activities also, sir? Taxable activities in religious places. What are they? Advertising in exchange for donation with specific conditions. So lots of advertisements boards were kept in the temples. No, so there is a close connection. The temple gives this space for advertisement for a cost of rupees 5,000. This will be subject to GST. But the devotee gives donation and asking the permission for writing donated by so and so name. So there is no correlation between the facility he enjoys and the contribution is given. It's a purely out of philanthropic nature, not coming under GST. Renting space within religious place for commercial purpose and all these things are subject to GST. Okay, non-taxable donations. What are called non-taxable donation? Donation given without obligation for advertising, promotion are not subject to GST. Okay, I am giving the donation. In the name of donation, I advertise my business also inside the temple means it's not permitted. So their GST will be applicable. Displaying a donor's name as gesture of gratitude without promotional interest, then okay, GST will not be attracted. So why? There may be lots of donation may be given by the temple here or there. You may see the hundi is donated by so and so. The name is also given. Why the name is inscribed to that? That will motivate the other devotees also contribute and ask them to write their own name. So that's the reason they are using the name. Hope you will be now able to understand. Now, 60th entry. 60th entry. This is all about religious yatra and pilgrimages, like Hajj pilgrimage services, Kailash Manasarovar Yatra. Okay, these two services are is most probably exempted. Okay, especially Mecca and Hajj pilgrimage services provided by the Hajj Committee of India. Understand? So, Hajj Committee of India and there may be private committee for arranging the pilgrimage services to visit Mecca. So year on year, public will means those who prefers to go for Mecca for their own rituals like commitment, religious commitment, they will apply here and they will be randomly chosen and allowed to send to Mecca. Okay, clear, clear. And the entire amount is sponsored by the government of India also, most of the cases, right? And it's not possible that my name may get allotted or not. So then I can route it through private party also where I need to pay the money. So they will give the yatra services for a consideration, say 2 lakhs or 5 lakhs, like, okay. Naturally, this will be subject to GST. Those services rendered by Hajj committee not subject to GST. Similarly, in case of Kailash Manasarovar Yatra, provided by KMVN is not falling under GST. KMVN, Kumaran Mandal Vikash Nigam Limited, a government entity of Uttarakhand undertaking. Uttarakhand, okay? Okay, in these two cases, Mecca by Hajj Committee, Kailash Manasarovar Yatra by KMVN, not falling under GST, okay? Religious yatras, pilgrimages organized by charitable or religious trusts are not exempt. Okay, only specified organization. Okay, religious pilgrimage facilitated by the government of India under bilateral agreement. Bilateral agreement is there. Okay, Indian government will have the agreement with other government like Pakistan also and with China also for some rituals. Now out of my memory. So especially a specific date, the people will travel from India to Punjab. Okay, China also, Manasarovar, and their Punjab is, they have their own sacred place in Pakistan. So Pakistan and India will have the tie-up. In those cases, anything organized, then GST will not be applicable. Okay. KMVN supplies various services like medical facilities, catering, security, and accommodations to Kailash Manasarovar pilgrimages. All the services rendered by KMVN is totally exempted. Next, Hajj Committee of India provides services such as medical facilities, accommodations, and catering to pilgrimages undertaking The Hajj pilgrimage, will GST be applicable in this case? So, no. Okay. See, in this case, Yatra. In this case, only what? Medical facilities and catering. If these services rendered by KMVN exempted, but rendered by Hajj committee not falling into this case. Clear? So these are the specific point they may ask in your examination. Okay. Next. We'll move on to the 80th entry. GST exemption on training, coaching, arts, culture, arts, sports. Arts, cultures, and sports. Okay. In case of arts, culture, sports, especially. Now, training, coaching in arts or culture provided by an individual, and training, coaching in sports provided by a charitable entity. Okay. Registered charitable entity means automatically you remember it should be registered under section 12AA and AB. And GST applies unless the service specifically exempted. Specifically exempted. Okay. Recreational activities, only arts and culture related activities qualify the exemption. Art and culture related. Dance, music, painting, sculpture, theater, literature activities, all these things may be falling under this. Only specific things will be exempted here. Clear? Now, Seva Trust, a charitable trust registered under Section 12AB of the Income Tax Act 1961, has organized a classical dance workshop for children. Will GST is applicable? Okay. Yes, this will be exempted because classical dance will fall under arts, art and cultural related, not the Western dances, Now let's move on to the next content. So with that first concept, charitable and religious activities are over. Now let's move on to the next one, agriculture related services. Now entry 24, services by way of loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of what? Rice. Exempted. Rice related. 24A related to services by way of warehousing minor forest produce. So in the forest, there may be lots of spices and other things self-grown and becomes non-usable and available in the forest area. You are just collecting those things for the sale purpose. That is called minor forest produce. So you should not cut and sell the sandalwood and teak wood. That is not minor forest produce, right? Any already existing there small item, no, that is called minor forest produce. Okay. If those things are warehousing, usually exempted. And storage and warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits, nuts and vegetables also exempted. Any agricultural services like cultivation, harvesting and plantation, fumigations, irrigation, all these things are again exempted. Any job work in cultivation of plants, cultivation of plant is given to third party as a job work, and rearing of all life forms of animals. You are growing the life forms of animals like poultry and goat, whatever it may be, you are growing, rearing, not taxable, provided it should not be horses, except horses. Should not fall under horses. And services by way of artificial insemination of livestock. Again, livestock related. In case of livestock related, horse should not be there. It's a very costliest one, right? So that will not be coming under exemption services. So these services will be exempted. But Not this one, it's only title. We'll see the main thing here. Hmm? The 54th, exemption related to agricultural services. 50, okay. 54th one, this one. I'm going to discuss this one. Let's see. What are called agricultural services, sir? Okay. Agricultural services. Hmm? Agricultural operations like cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection, testing are exempted. Okay, from the cultivation to harvesting. Processing at farm level, while the plants are grown, no, you have to do some pruning, some cutting, fumigation, that fertilizers and all that process, farm level process like tending, pruning, cutting, harvesting, after harvesting, drying, and classifying, sorting, and grade. This is the first grade and second grade, and bulk packaging are also exempted. And retail oriented processing like grinding, sterilizing, and packaging in retail packs not exempted. Bulk packing, okay. You are packing in legal means retail pack after some process for saleable purpose not coming. That activity will not come under GST. Finish off and pack at the farmland itself. Okay. Subsequently, for the saleable, if you do some more activity, that activity will come under GST. And supply of farm laborer. Okay, I may get the farm laborer from the contractor. He has around 10 laborers. Okay, I cannot recruit my own labor. So whenever I'm in need of a laborer, I approach the labor contractor. He will send me the laborer. Payment is given to the contractor. Contractor will settle the mode of payment to the laborers as he wish. The service rendered by the labor contract service, not falling under GST. Labor supplying for agricultural service is exempted. Renting or leasing of agricultural equipment and land. Any agricultural equipment like means the weeding machines and all. No, we have lots of machines and weeding and cutting, pruning, whatever the machines may be. Agro machinery and vacant land. Not only agro machines, even vacant land letting out for the agricultural purpose, no, not taxable. It's falling under exempted category. Any agricultural extension services, farmer education, training, advisory services, Kisan call centers, Kisan melas, farm visits. Okay, so we may have some experts to visit our farm to give the guidance, right? So we too have. I have seen all the three category people. Okay, I have the labor contractor for my farm. I don't get the laborers. Okay, I'm searching for a farm laborer, but I don't get directly. So whenever I inquire to send me one or two farmer for my farm, automatically it's routed through contractor only. First I approach one person, he always supplies me his own laborers for a consideration. I have to pay to contractor, he will release. I say no, I need a personal farm laborer. I will recruit and appoint, and I pay money directly. No, they will not say. Then another fellow who came, sir, I will have some people, sir. Okay, send me. No, sir, you pay to me and I'll release. So that's how we will get. And for the guidance, what plants I can implant in my land. So for that, they will come and inspect the soil and test and what are the plants may be suitable in my land. All these things are guided me at free of cost. At free of cost means the services as per the government norms they are doing. Even we have the poultry. For the poultry also, doctor comes and visits once in a month or twice a month and gives the medicines also. All these things are free, and visiting also free. There is no any payment. So those services are related to what? Farmer education, training, advisory services, Kisan call center. All these facilities are there for promoting this tertiary sector of Indian economy, right? Tertiary means agriculture sector. Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee, APMC services. APMC services. Okay. So already we studied this APMC. Where did we study this? APMC study services. Registration under section 23. Okay. Where any marketing committee rendering any services not taxable. This is exempted clearly here. Services by APMC, board, commission agents. Okay. There is a APMC. Okay. APMC. What they will do? From the farmers, they will collect cultivated produce, right? And they will supply seeds and fertilizers, whatever it may be needed, and helping these produce sell to the public. Okay, this work is done by APMC for a fee that will not be coming under GST taxability. Okay, for sale, purchase of agriculture produce are exempt. But if they do any commercial rentals in their own premises for the shops for non-agriculture purpose, it will be taxable. Warehousing and storage of agriculture produce. Warehousing and storage, right? Especially warehousing, loading, unloading, packaging, storage, warehousing of agriculture produce, not taxable. But if you are warehousing and storing processed products like a tea, either it may be black tea, green tea, white tea, it's all after the processing, it's ready for sale. No, if it is ready for sale, it is not going to be warehousing of the agriculture produce. It's a subsequent product, right? Processed coffee, jaggery, dehusked pulses, okay, dal, okay, dehusked pulses or dal, processed spices, cashew nuts, dry fruits, and etc. If you are storing these items, of course, not exempted. Leaving that, others are most probably exempted. Okay. So, for your better understanding, basic agricultural activities and primary market transactions, this one, APMC transaction, enjoy GST exemption. Processed products and retail oriented services are subject to GST. Subject to GST. Is that clear? Now, this section, this entry 54 covers services related to the cultivation of plants, rearing of animals, where it should not include horses. Okay, that why do you rear the animals? For food, fiber, fuel, and maybe used as a raw material. For that purpose, if you are rearing the animals or cultivating the plants and exempted, it should not be being a horse. And includes activities like pisciculture, sericulture, floriculture, and horticulture and forestry. Pisciculture, fish breeding; sericulture, silk farming; floriculture, ornamental flowers culture; and horticulture, forestry. These things will be totally exempted. Okay. Now, what is called agriculture produce? Very often we use the term agriculture produce. What is called? What is called agriculture produce? Refers to crops or animal products with either no further processing or only nominal processing that retains their essential characters while making them marketable in the primary market will be exempted usually. Okay, crops you harvest, and what you do, small additional work you have to do for sale. Okay, you have to short, then okay. But potato will be your agricultural produce, and you can sell the potato as it is in the market, will not be falling under GST. But if you are slicing that and name this being the Lays chips, will attract the GST. It's not small activities after the means harvest, right? You do lots of services. Includes farm level activities like drying, cleaning, trimming, shorting that we have discussed, but it will not include what? Products that undergo significant processing, altering their essential nature, like potato chips, tomato ketchups. These things are falling under taxability. Is that clear? Now, job work. In relation to the cultivation of plants, rearing of all forms of animals, what should not be included here? Horses. Okay, what are the general exemptions you have to understand here? GST exemption applies to intermediate production process performed as job work in relation to the cultivation of plants and rearing of animals, food, fiber. Why do you rear the animals? Food, fiber, fuel, and raw material purpose. Okay. Now, what happens? The milling activities are paddy into rice, not exempted. Paddy is okay, but paddy is converted into rice is not falling under what? This one, okay, agriculture produce, so it will be taxable. Agriculture activities is taxable only. Okay. Milling is done after cultivation, and there is work performed by the miller. Miller means the person who is slicing the skin out of paddy to make it rice will be called as miller's activity, not taxable, and so not taxable, and it changes the essential characters. Okay, so this will be classifiable as taxable. Milling of paddy into rice does not qualify for the exemption. Now let's see. Some rated illustrations from this particular content. Dukhya Das is engaged in providing following services. With the help of information given below, determine which of the services provided by Dukhya Das are exempt. Packaging of onions purchased from village farmers into small packets. Small packets means retail packets of 1 kg each in Dukhya Das warehouse so that same can be sold in nearby city mall. So taxable because it's not a primary market. It is not primary market. Warehousing of jaggery and tea. Okay. Now here one predominant point you have to understand, jaggery and tea are, if you are producing jaggery and tea, that will be taxable. But especially here, there I have not explained in proper way. Here I just tell you, processing jaggery and tea, it's a manufacturing process. GST will be attracted, but warehousing that is totally exempt. Warehousing, this one only, specially here also it is not clearly stated here. Tea and jaggery, these two cases, processing is taxable, but warehousing is not taxable. Is that okay? You can mark this clearly in this case. Now, renting of warehouse for storage of agricultural produce. Renting of warehouse for storage of agricultural produce, taxable. Okay. What does it mean? I have the warehouse. I get the material from X for a consideration. So he stores his goods here and makes a payment of rupees 1000 per month. GST will not be attracted. But the warehouse is owned by Mr. A, and this warehouse rented to B. Now, what? The warehouse for a rent 1 lakh rupees. B now operates the warehouse for warehousing the agriculture produce. This process is called warehouse of agriculture produce. This is called letting out of the warehousing. That warehouse premises itself let out. Okay, renting of warehouse. Okay, warehouse letting out is taxable, but supplying warehousing services, you give me your product, I don't let out my entire warehouse, give me product, I will store and release whenever you are in need. That is called warehousing services. It is renting of warehousing. Renting of warehousing is always taxable. These are the confusing point, you have to be careful. Right. So we have covered two aspects. One is charitable and religious activity. Second one is agriculture related. Now we'll move on to the educational services related. Now, educational services. Now, public school, ABC public school. What are the services rendered by ABC public school? Okay. And to whom the services are provided? Students, faculty, and staff. Whatever the services provided by ABC public school to students, faculty, and staff, usually exempted. And also, ABC public school conducts the examination, coaching, examination, and all will be exempted. Clear? What are the services? Education, examination, canteen, and special sports activity, all the services exempted. And transport of students and faculty, transport services, clear, all these things are exempted. Now, sometimes it is very tough for the institution being in the beginning stage to have or own their own transport facilities and canteen facilities. It may be outsourced. Now, X provides the transport services to ABC public school for transporting their school students and faculty staff. Transport. Similarly, Y will spend or support security services and staffing services like cleaning and all maintenance services done by Y. Catering services done by Z, and exam is conducted by the third party from outside, probably J. Okay, these are the services rendered by third party to ABC public school. ABC public school rendered services to students, faculty, and staff, and ABC public school gets the services from various persons to render these services. Services provided by education institutions, usually to students, faculty, and staff, predominantly exempt. And the conduct of entrance exams also be there. Okay, where entrance fees is collected for exams is also collected. Okay, exempt. Services provided to education institution by the third party. What are the services? Okay, exempt only for preschools, schools up to higher secondary or equivalent, up to 12th, up to 12th. Preschool to 12th. What are the services? Transportation of students, faculty, and staff, that services rendered by X. Catering services, including midday meal scheme sponsored by the government. Okay, food and other things. Okay, also catering services exempted. Security, cleaning, or housekeeping services exempted. The service rendered by Y. These are the exempted services. Is that okay? For how to up to 12th standard. And exempt for all education institutions, including colleges, universities. Okay, including these things plus other also. Services related to the admission and conduct of examination. What happens now? ABC admits the students based on the score given by CAT examination, common admission test, and there may be again a clap for legal entrance examination. And based on that mark scored, they will admit. To score that mark as a candidate, I had to write that examination by paying the fees. Okay, that service is done by the third party. Okay, those services they collect the fees. No, for that GST is not applicable. And especially the last one, online educational journal and periodicals. This will be exempted not for all institutions except for schools and vocational courses. Means colleges other than vocational courses. Online educational journals not required for the school level, right? So they are not familiar with. So it may be offered to the college level, no? Then it's exemption. Okay. There are lots of online educational journals and periodicals are available for research purpose. Maybe post graduation, even doctorate study, they will use all these services also from the colleges. These services provided by third party. There are lots of educational institutions providing the journals and periodicals for online accessibility for a fee. That will not be coming under GST. But this will be applicable only for what? Except schools. And also vocational courses. For vocational courses, not required. Okay. So how do we do the research? Then there may be some research publication done by 3 or 4 parties. I have to go and read, understand the mode of research, and based on that, I have to go for my research doctorate. Vocational services, it's only a skill development like typing. Okay. So there is no any research paper how to type. Okay. So after learning how to swim from a reputed swimmer's book, is it possible to swim? Naturally not possible. It's only practice. So practice based vocational. So because of that reason, vocational courses and for schools, this will be taxable. So the rest of the cases is exempted. Affiliation services. What is called affiliation services? You might have seen this. This college is affiliated to Bardhasan University, affiliated to this one institution, like affiliation. Okay, Bhardasan University, in case of this, maybe the college Bhardasan University, okay, in Trichy. They will apply for the affiliation and they will give the affiliation also. For that, there's a fees. That fees also exemption. So, what is the affiliation? Can I conduct the BCom course and computer science course? So, if I want to conduct that course, you have to get the permission from the BDO, and Bhardasan University will come for the inspection and verifies whether the specific lab facilities and faculty facilities and all other facilities are available or not. Based on that, BDO will give permission to conduct that courses. Once they get the permission, then they will admit the students for that course. That's called affiliated courses. Affiliation provided by central or state educational boards and councils. Tamil Nadu State Education Board is there, no? That will give the permission for affiliating the schools to run the courses. Okay, controlled by the government bodies exempted. Only this will be exempted. Only this will be okay. State Educational Board or Central Educational Board, CBSE syllabus and Tamil Nadu State Board syllabus, right? So let's see a general overview of this. What is that? Education is fundamental to nation building. So GST does not define education. There is no any definition. Apex code defines education as training and development of knowledge skills. That's how the things are there. Taxing education is sensitive. So it's a social obligation. So government aims to balance the exemption for core education while taxing the commercial aspects. So this is the basic idea about why we tax and why we exempt. Not required for your examination purpose. Now, GST exemption for education institutions, output services, we have already studied, and this one also completed. And key interpretation, degree courses recognized by university, exempted. Private coaching, not exempted. Foreign recognized course, not exemption. Okay, not exemption. Now, vocational education courses approved by ITA under NCBT and SCBT, National Council for Vocational Training, State Council for Vocational Training. Routed through, if there is any training program is offered, totally exempted. Or in case of ITA, any designated trades done as per the Apprentices Act 1961, okay, exempted. ITA related. All these things are ITA related. Not designated trade courses, GST is applicable, okay. ITA, when it is being the ITA, okay. Now, if it is given by government, most probably exempted. In case of private, okay, then designated trades will be exempted. Designated trade means it is given an apprentice act, whatever the training. Other than that, others will be taxable. Only others, like this will be especially entrance examination. Fees collected for entrance examination to admit the students in their own ITA college will be taxable. Entrance examination, for your better understanding. Entrance examination. Or any campus interview organized by collecting fees, those things also be subject to taxability. Is that okay? Let's see. ITA. Private ITA courses designated in trades exempted, other courses GST applicable. Most of the cases, government ITA fully exempted. Okay. And unrecognized institution, private coaching centers always taxable. Education institution up to higher education, higher secondary. Output services exemption, input services like repairs, maintenance, etc. The services rendered by XYZ, no, also be exempted in their hand also, right? Okay. But in case of hostel, lodging, boarding exempt, composite supply of education and lodging is exempted. But totally non-related to students' education, like repairs and maintenance of any other property of the education institution is taxable. Education institution is taxable. Hope you'll be now able to understand. Now, institution providing recognized qualifications. So colleges offering BCom degree or whatever it may be. Okay. Then those things are always exemption. But while organizing dual qualification, as already told, in colleges, students are admitted for BCom and especially they will give the coaching for CA foundation also in the campus. They collect the fees for this separately, but predominantly BCom is the affiliated program. For that only degree is awarded. CA Foundation is not affiliated. A separate fees is collected. Then this will be taxable. A separate fee and assessed separately for this. Okay, or if bundled under single fee, mixed supply. Okay, then this will be mixed supply, higher GST rate will be applicable, and a separate fee is applicable in case of separate qualification. Okay, hobby and extracurricular classes, composite supply usually exempted in case of hobby and extracurricular activities, because that is also needed. No, to get qualified, not only you clear the papers, you have to finish up some extracurricular activities also to get the degree awarded. So those things are falling under composite supply and exempted. Now, in case of IIM, Indian Institute of Management, long duration courses having duration more than 1 year exempted. They have short duration courses also, issuing no degree, 6 months diploma courses, 3 months diploma courses, or 1 week certification courses where GST is applicable. Central State Education Board entrance exam authorities, if they conduct anything, usually exemption. Conduct of entrance examination, exemption. Any input services like printing, online testing, etc., exemption. Accreditation services, GST is applicable. Accreditation services, GST is applicable. Is that clear? Now, specific GST exemption services related to education. Mess and canteen services. Mess and canteen services run by institution exempt, outsourced to third party, then GST is applicable. Mess and services in preschool exemption. Already we studied, no? The same here. In case of mess and canteen, food and Anganwadi of schools, entrance fees, fees for prospective employees, maritime training institutions. These are the cases we are going to study. Already we studied and we are going to break that further. If the mess and canteen run by institution exemption, outsourced to third party, then GST is applicable, especially mess and canteen. Mess services in preschools and schools exemption, up to preschool and schools exemption. Already we studied, no? Here. This will be exemption up to 12th. Okay, where we have what? Catering services. But catering services here will be taxable in case of colleges. In case of colleges. Clear? And Anganwadi's preschool education exemption and midday meal scheme exemption, entrance fees exemption, admission fees, application fee, whatever it may be, everything is exemption. Okay, you don't need to study this. Maritime training institution approved by DG Shipping under Merchant Shipping Act, also exemption. Okay, now GST on input services for educational institution. Already told you, no. ABC public school, they will be getting services from various service provider. If this is being the preschool type of education institution, this is being the preschool up to higher secondary, first one. Recognized qualification providers for undergraduation, post graduation, vocational education providers. What are the input services exemption? Transportation, catering, security, cleaning, exam related everything. In this case, catering will not come. Exam admission related online education journals also be exempted. Already we studied. Vocational, only exam admission related, not the online educational journals related. Is that okay? Now, we'll see some illustrations so that you'll be able to understand all these things easily. Is Singer Institute of Technology a private engineering college in Tamil Nadu exempt from GST? Yes. Engineering colleges are exemption. Okay. They award that B degree and whatever the degree may be. Does Little Ways Public School having preschool CBSE affiliated higher secondary school in Tamil Nadu qualify GST exemption? Yes. Is Kaladrashti ITA Gorakhpur providing non-designated skill courses exempt from GST? ITA non-designated skill course. Only designated skill course will be available, so this will be taxable. SSA Coaching Institute training students for CACMA and CS in Trichy. Consider as education institution for GST purpose, no, and tax will be leviable. Is subscription of online journals by Tender Kids, a preschool in Tamil Nadu, exempt from GST? No, that online will be applicable only for the post graduation schools or colleges. Is student and faculty transportation by SM transporters to Path Wheels School, higher secondary? Transportation service also rendered up to higher secondary will be exempt. And are exam related services like paper setting, printing availed by Shiksha College GST exempt? Okay, yes. Okay, they need to outsource the printing and other things for the question paper setting, which is a primary requirement for the colleges to conduct the examination. So, exempt. Now, are security and housekeeping services provided to Gyani Public School GST is exempt? Yes, exemption. Okay, that's all. Now let's move on to the next one, the affiliation services. Affiliation services. Affiliation services. Affiliation provided by universities to colleges ensures institutions meet infrastructure, faculty, and financial standard not related to the student's admission or conduct of examination. And there is a civic clarification: affiliation services are taxable. Civic clarification is given. But affiliation provided by education boards to school institution, government institutions. Okay, Tamil Nadu state government, CBSE. That's how we discussed CBSE and Tamil Nadu state government education board. Ensure schools meet infrastructure, facility, and faculty requirements not related to students' admissions or conduct of examination. Here also CBSE clarifies that such services are taxable. Exceptions: affiliation services to government schools. Okay, make a note of it. Affiliation services to government school owned and controlled by government are exempt. If it is given to the private institutions, taxable only. So with that, we have completed the education services also. So we have completed three set of exemption services. Okay, one is related to charitable and religious. Another one is agricultural. Third one being education. So now, healthcare services. Services by veterinary clinic to health care of animals and birds, and normal health care and ambulance services, right? Let's see. Healthcare services. Exemption on healthcare services provided by clinical establishment, authorized medical practitioners, paramedics. Clinical establishment, authorized medical practitioners, paramedics are exempt. Clinical establishments may being the hospitals, authorized medical practitioners may being doctors and ortho will fall under this case, and even lab technicians for blood testing and other testing. Paramedics, they will fall under paramedics, okay, will be exempted. However, room charges exceeding 5,000 per day, these type of questions you may be expected. The room charges, you are paying the room charges no for the ICU, CCU, ICCU, these things, right? Intensive care and critical care unit. So these are the cases. Leave that. Other than that, any general ward is there. No, for that the room rent is more than 5,000, then GST is applicable. Less than that, GST is not applicable. In case of ICU, the rate may be 10,000 rupees. In that case, no problem. GST is not applicable. Okay, excluding this are not exempt. Okay, so 5,000 is the limit. In case of ICU room, up to any number exempted. In case of other than ICU, up to 5,000 is exempted. What services will be done? Healthcare services like diagnosis, treatment, care for illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, pregnancy. In any recognized system of medicines, you have to understand what is called recognized system of medicines. Allopathy, okay, homeopathy, you might have seen, no? So those are called recognized system of medicine. That one also asked the examination, like allopathy, naturopathy, homeopathy, yoga, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, any other system recognized by the central government. Okay. Here, Reiki, very often they will ask whether Reiki will fall under recognized system of medicines. No, Reiki will not come. These are recognized system of medicine in India. Okay. Patient transportation, ambulance to and from clinical establishment also be considered as healthcare services usually exempted. But hair transplantation, cosmetic, plastic surgery, these are not exempted taxable, provided these are mandatorily done due to some abnormalities, okay, met with accident. He lost some parts or skin totally damaged. By the time you have to do plastic surgery mandatorily, or born with some physical deformity, for that the cosmetic and plastic surgery will be done. In those cases, it is considered as healthcare services exempted. For the beauty purpose, if you are doing all these things, of course, GST will be applicable. So, reconstruction due to congenital defect, abnormalities, injury, trauma. In these cases, these surgeries will be exempted, otherwise it is taxable. Clinical establishments, hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, sanatoriums, diagnostic, investigative centers, all these things are clinical establishment. Pathological labs services are also GST, exempted from GST. Okay. Pathological. So you see, for the testing, you will give some skin and some DNA. Some cases, you get some infection. They will pick that infection, that skin, small skin from you. They will grow it to see what it could be. Okay, where they have the labs to grow and test whether it's harmful for the human being and how it can be treated. That is called pathological labs. Those services are also exempted. Authorized medical practitioner, registered medical practitioner qualified to practice any recognized system. Those recognized system, no, you need to get the certification, then you are allowed to be authorized medical doctors. Paramedics, trained health professional, nurses, physiotherapists, technicians, all will fall under this case, and exempt if working in clinical establishment or independently. So these services will be totally exempted. And already we studied that room rent up to 5,000 exemption, else taxable. Any services by doctors, consultant, technicians are exempted. Okay. And seventh point, food supplied to patients, food given to inpatients as per medical advice. It's a part of healthcare service, so exemption. And outpatients will come now and then for a temporary treatment, okay, a medical checkup. For that, any food supply, an attendant for the patient or visitors, those food will be taxable. GST will be applicable. If food is outsourced by the hospital, okay, supplier charges GST. Food is outsourced by the food is supplied by the third party, then GST will be applicable. And also no ITC for the hospital. No ITC also not claimable in case of food, because blocked credit. In case of food and other things, it's blocked credit. Food given to inpatients, right? If you get admitted as a patient, food may be prescribed by the dietitian there usually, okay, usually, clear. And if the food is prescribed by the dietitian, it's not taxable. It is not taxable. Other than that, any food supplied to the visitors and attendant will be taxable. Right. In case of renting of shops, auditoriums, display of advertisement in the campus of hospital will be taxable. It should not be done. No. Assisted reproductive technology, ART, IVF services are exempted currently. Are exempted. ART and IVF, assisted reproductive technology, and IVF and all exempted currently. See, so many points we discussed, not required to memorize, only these points. If you are thorough with a few questions, 4 or 5 questions related to healthcare situation, then you will be master. So let's see. Good health medical center, a clinical establishment offers the following services: Reiki healing treatments. Is it taxable? Yes, Reiki is not approved medical treatment system in India. Plastic surgeries. One such surgery was conducted to repair cleft lip. So there's a problem, deformity, okay, of a newborn baby. So definitely it is exempted. Cleft lip. The lip, in your face, the lip seems to be partition like. two part like it looks, seems to be very awkward. So for the newborn baby, at the time itself, they will go for some plastic surgery so that the cleft lip problem may be rectified. That surgery is a part of requirement, so exempted. Air ambulance services to transport critically ill patients from distant location, exempted. Air ambulance services. Palliative care for terminally ill patients. Palliative care. Okay. To take care. So the disease not curable. Okay. Until it dies, let him at least live with least pain. Living with the disease is painful. Okay. Dying is unhuman. What we can do? So we'll now try to reduce the pain. That's called palliative care treatment for ill patients. On request, such care is also provided to patients at their homes. Palliative care is given to improve the quality of life of patients who have a serious or life threatening disease, but the goal of such care is not to cure the disease. It's not to cure, only to reduce the pain. Exemption. Even if this treatment is given at the home, also exempted. So already we have seen now it should be given only by clinical establishment inside the clinic. No, not required in this case. Alternative medical treatment by way of yoga. Yoga falls under this, okay? Exempted. Good Health Medical Center also operates cord blood bank, which provides services in relation to the preservation of stem cells. Exempted. Okay, cord blood bank. Any services now, this service becomes very costly now and very famous currently. Cord blood bank. Okay, how many have heard about this cord blood bank? Huh? Heard about this or not? Okay, so most of the words we have not come across. Good health medical care is of a view that since it is a clinical establishment, all the services provided by it as well as the services provided to it are exempted. You are required to examine the situation in the light of the relevant statutory provisions. No, because sometimes the healthcare center giving the means the food services to in not inpatient, outpatients or attendants and visitors, that will be taxable. And any advertisement services enjoyed by advertising their own products in the healthcare hospitals, it is also be taxable. It is taxable. Now, exempted services provided by government, central government, state government, union territory, and local authority. If the services provided by government, some cases it will be exempted, like number one, municipal and panchayat functions. Okay, whatever it may be, severages and water, whatever the service done by municipality, corporations, panchayat will be exempted. And services rendered by central government, general government services. Like transportation of goods and passenger, services related to aircraft, vessels within or outside ports and airport means. Okay. Services provided by government are generally exempted, but these are taxable. These are taxable. General services, you can keep this in your mind. Services by Department of Post and Ministry of Railways. Okay. In case of speed post, aircraft vessels related services, transport services, renting of immobile property done by the government's entity or government will also be taxable. Okay, will be taxable. Transportation of goods and passenger also be taxable. You can very easily remember whatever the service rendered by the government to public, okay, where services rendered by government to public, Sometimes services rendered by government, similar services rendered by the private players also to public. If the service is predominantly rendered only by the government to the public, those things are exempted. Where the government provides services to the private public, equivalent service rendered by the private player also, if a private player has to pay the GST means, how can we give the exemption to the government? Seems to be non-match. If the service given by private entity which is taxable, similar service given by the government means that is also subject to GST. If pure services are some services being the government's responsibility, then this are for the social responsibility, doing this for the public, not equated by private players, then it is exempted. In case of postal department, postcard and inland letter, nowadays it's totally out of service. Those things actually, in my days itself, very older days, I'm talking about the postcard. All the Pongal and the Diwali festival will know, they will draw the diagrams and all, send the postcards and inland letter. Now also I get from the old age people, whenever I get my birthday and all, I get the blessings from them in still the postcard. Their memory. Now and then it's very rare. The cost of the postcard may be 50 paise or 1 rupee. I'm not aware about the current price. It's 50 paise or 1 rupee. But for making it deliver from the writer to receiver, it costs us 5 rupees. Still, it is done by the government because to have the social responsibility. Those services are not coming under taxability. Now we have the speed post also. That speed post is similar to the courier service. If the courier service is done by the private player, GST is applicable. Similar services are offered by the government where such a GST is not applicable means it's really doing a not welfare to the private players. Whatever it may be taxable to private players, the same will be taxable for the government also. Because of that reason, speed post, express parcel post, life insurance and agency services performed by the Department of Post will be taxable. Provided if these services are provided to the non-governmental entities, non-governmental entities, government to government exempted, else it is taxable. Right. Similarly, aircraft vessels and within or outside the port or precinct of areas will be always taxable, but accommodation services provided by Air Force Mess, Army Mess, Navy Mess, paramilitary, police forces mess to their personnel will be exempted. This will be exempted. Similarly, here this will be taxable. This will be taxable. Okay, understand. And the next one being small business entities, services to small business entity. Exempt if provided to business entity with the turnover below GST. Government rendered service to business entity being the registered one, then automatically GST will be applicable under RCM basis we have studied. If he is being the unregistered individual, then GST is not applicable. But speed post, aircraft and renting of immovable property, GST will be applicable under forward charges. Intergovernmental services, one government rendered services, other government, most probably exempted. Most probably exempted unless what? The services are rendered by the private player also, like speed post, transport, aircraft. So you always now easily link government to government, most of the cases exempted. But whatever the service done by the government to others, will it be falling under a specific social responsibility services by the government or not? If it is so, then most probably exempted. Similar services offered by the private as well as government, where private player has to pay the tax means this government entity should also pay the GST. Low value government services. Low value government services. If the total consideration is less than 5,000 rupees and for continuous supply, exemption applies if the total annual charges does not 5,000 rupees. Usually, these cases, the service may be exempted. Okay, annual service means annual value being less than 5,000 rupees, or one-time service means if the one-time service value is less than 5,000, GST is not applicable. Of course, speed post and transport will be always taxable. Always taxable. Government entities and grants also exempted. Okay, any grants given. Services by government entity to central government, state government, union territory, and local authority. rendering services by government entity to governments or a specified person, usually exempted. Okay. And old age homes. Old age home means 60 plus years. Okay. For them, old age homes are run and the charges does not exceed 25,000, then it is exempted. Okay. This is not government, it's general. Including boarding, lodging, maintenance, all the three put together, the charges is 20,000 per month or less than that, then automatically what happens? GST is not applicable. Indian Railway Services. Indian Railway Services. Sale of platform tickets, retailing and waiting room facilities inside, clock room facilities, battery operated car services. These services rendered within the means railways premises will be totally exempted. Okay, retailing and waiting rooms facilities. Earlier, no. When you go railway stations nowadays also most of the railway stations no, if the train comes half an hour late or 1 hour late and it will be hectic for us to stay there, overcrowded, but uh, there may be waiting rooms also. Okay, there may be waiting room now available, paid waiting room. Per hour it costs us 100 rupees or 50 rupees like they charge. Even air conditioned waiting room also be available, and within which you can go using the battery operated car services also to travel within the platform. For that any amount recovered no, those things are exempted from the GST. Interzonal or interdivisional services within Indian Railways, within them, if they do any services, exempted. Special purpose vehicles to Indian Railways, okay. Any SPV is also exempted. Special purpose vehicle to Indian Railways. Special purpose vehicle is nothing but issuing the debentures or bond, okay. Out of the amount remains unutilized in Indian Railway. You will study that at your final level. Now you will understand special purpose vehicle is not any motor car or any other vehicles. It's nothing but a bond link. Any non-convertible form of assets is converted into liquidated form, maybe share form or debenture bond and bond form. That is called special purpose vehicle. Okay, routed through an entity. That entity is called special purpose vehicle. Postal services, postcard, inland letter, book post, ordinary post. Ordinary post envelopes value weight may be less than 10 grams are exempted. Government loan guarantees also be exempted. Okay, whenever the government gives guarantee for loans, for that any amount charged, no, that charges will not be applicable for the GST. Now, services related to the registration, like what registration? Okay, like um, what are the registrations? Like registration of company, registration of any land, and all these things. No, most of the cases exempted. Safety and production services like testing, calibration, safety checks, certification required under law for the protections of workers, consumers, public, including fire licenses. These services are exempted. In a factory, you need to have the basic equipments for safety and other requirement, right? Like there may be fire extinguishers kept here or there, spittoons and like all these things. Unless they maintain all these things, even in cinema theater, if you don't have these things, so the license will not be given to operate the cinema theaters and malls. And for that, whatever the fees they charge for testing, no, GST will not be applicable. Official document issued by the government, like a passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate, and death certificate, for that the fee may be 100 rupees or 200 rupees, for that GST is not applicable. Tolerating non-performance of contract, okay, like any penalty paid, liquidated damages for tolerating breaches of contract terms, okay, for that GST is not applicable. For the fine and penalty, that fine and penalty is nothing but again tolerating non-performance of a contract, or non-performance simply. And similarly, you have to finish up the duty within 3 days, but you missed to complete in 3 days, then automatically you are violated, then they will levy a penalty for that. Those penalty will be coming under liquidated damages. And assignment of rights to use natural resources, okay. So natural resources like LPG, helium, the methane and all, and even water, to extract that for your bottled drinks and purified water drink, whatever it may be, packaged drinking water. If you want to pack and sell, you are using the groundwater only. No, that's a natural resources. To use that, government, you need to get the permission from the government. Okay, so sometimes later you'll see, if you have the bore and well to extract the water, to the extent of water you extract from your own underground water, you have to pay the tax. Hmm? There's a meter. Sometimes later there will be meter. Like electricity, you have the meter. No. Sometimes later for consumption of water also there will be meter. You can consume only to this much water only from corporation water. Sir, can I extract from the groundwater? Also for that also the limit will be there. Okay. So that's why this kind of concept comes. Any amount payable to the government will not be subject to GST. Okay. Assignment of rights to individual farmers for using natural resources for cultivation of plants, rearing of all forms of animals except horses. These cases, GST is not applicable. Merchant overtime charges for trade facilitation, like inspection, container stuffing, other duties related import and export cargo, GST will not be applicable. Right. See, what is called merchant overtime charges? Let's see. It's also again related to the customs only. If you want to export any goods, right, you have to remove from your factory and take to the customs port, and from there it is shipped and transported. Who knows, will it be genuine product transported or some forgery products transported? So while exporting some goods, you have to get it approved from the customs authorities. After verification, they will come and see physically what material you are exporting. What material you are exporting. Is that okay? Based on that only you have to send the goods. Okay. See, if you are exporting in a container, especially you want to export by 10 p.m. 10 p.m. You pack everything at 6 p.m. only. So now you have to export. No, for the export, then it need to be verified physically. So you call the department officers to come and inspect. He says, sir, 6 o'clock time is over. How can I come now? After the time, I'll come tomorrow. Sir, if I miss, then I can export only the next month, sir. This is a last shipment I have to do. Okay, I'll come. As I'm working extra, then you have to pay me extra amount. To whom? The government only. Okay, government assigns officers to go for inspection in other than office hours for charging extra amount. For that charges, GST will not be there. This is called merchant overtime charges. Okay, for trade facilitation like inspection, container stuffing, other duties related to the import and export of this cargo. This is called merchant overtime charges for facilitation centers. Now, services to excess royalty collection container contractor, excess royalty collection contractor. Right. Any excess royalty collection contractor, services to them will be subject to exemption only. Okay. Now, state government assigns some jobs or some license to X, and X has to pay the royalty for this licensing, and for that X has to pay royalty. Is that okay? Clear? So the task mark operated here or there, they will get the license from the government to operate the bars and other thing. Even for some cases, you need to get the permission, license from the government to operate for your royalty. Now, the royalty collection duty is assigned to some third party, ERCC. ERCC collects the royalty from them and deposits that to state government for a consideration. For this consideration, GST is not applicable. Is that clear? Right assigned to ERCC by the state government to collect the royalty on behalf of the state for minerals dispatched by mining leaseholders. Right. ERCC must submit an account certifying GST deposited by mining leaseholders. GST paid the leaseholder is less than the exemption granted. Okay. Okay. The leaseholder. So he is being the lessee. Okay, government has given to extract the stones, minerals, and whatever it may be. May say you have to extract 100 units. But if they extracted 150 units, then it's a violation. only to the extent of allowed if he mined and extracted, and to that extent any amount collected, and for the collection he charges this, that no, for that GST is not applicable. Any excess collection will be subject to GST. Okay. Mining leasehold definition also be available here. Next one being services by rehabilitation professionals like doctors. Okay. Professional recognized under Rehabilitation Council of India Limited includes rehabilitation, therapy, counseling services rendered at hospitals, education institution, and run by any trust registered under section 12AA and 12AB. Is that case? Is that okay? In those cases, you can claim the exemption here. Now, most of the cases I use the term like government authority, government entity. Okay, central government, state government, local authority, and government authority, government entity. So you have to understand the difference between government authority as well as government entity. Government authority is nothing but municipality and panchayat. They are being the government authorities. Under their own rights, they are acting all these things for the government purpose. Okay. And usually these are set up under Act of Parliament or a state legislature established by any other government. Okay. And this municipality and panchayats are most probably controlled by the government itself for more than 90%. Okay. Usually the purpose being municipality is to render the services assigned to the municipality like urban planning, public health, sanitation, roads, water and other things, rural development, agricultural, minor irrigation, poverty alleviations, panchayat and all. So these first one is for the municipality, second one is for the panchayat. Okay, panchayat is for the rural, no, so rural development. Municipality is for the urban planning. So these are the two cases we have. These are the two cases. All these municipality panchayats are the good examples for the government authority, where 90% is under the control of government only. And in case of government entity, a broader classification encompassing authorities, board, corporations, trusts, societies, all will fall under this, even including corporations. By the government for governance and public welfare. Governance and public welfare also will come under this case. Okay. This is also similar to the government authority. This is also similar to this one. But purpose is performs functions entrusted by the function laid by these entity will be performed by them. Okay. Central government, state government, union territory and local authority. Okay. Can include public sector enterprises, regulatory bodies, welfare boards, statutory commission. Okay. So earlier it's purely municipality and panchayat like government authority, but here it's not authority, entity also. May not be having the power, authority also, but they will be acting for the social responsibility as well as some business also will be available here. Public sector enterprises, some business, okay, PSUs. Now let's see construction contract. Construction contract. In case of construction contract, housing for all mission, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana case. Housing for all mission and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. In these two cases, it is fully exempt. That too, it should be pure labor contract. This may also be expected. Pure labor contracts. Okay. Housing for all and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana cases. Pure labor contract means you purchase the material, you procure all the services and appoint the laborers, day basis, whatever it may be, mason or four, it may be. You call them, ask them work for the labor only you are paying. Okay, not the complete contract, sir. Construct the building, sir. I'll pay 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs rupees, sir. Then it's called contract. No. Each and every spending will be out of pocket separately. And for the engineering services and labor services, parts amount paid separately. So, if we are able to identify the contract being purely for the labor services and for the material he procures out of his own personal ability, then it's called pure labor contract. Covers pure labor contracts for various construction related activities. Construction for construction, creation, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repair, maintenance, renovation and alteration of civil structures or other original work, everything will come. Beneficiary led the individual house construction and enhancement. Beneficiary led individual house construction. Individual house, it should not be in flat system. It should not be in flat system. I need to construct my own individual house separately. Okay, in this case, all the amount you pay to the contractor will be exempted. If you are paying a comprehensive value, then GST will come. Okay, I'll get the house constructed for 50 lakhs, then GST will be applicable. Electricity distribution utilities for farmers. Okay, usually electricity distributed to the farmers is usually exempted, right? Infrastructure should be for extending electricity distribution network also be exempted. Okay, clear. So for example, farmlands, okay, a big farmlands, there may be small houses. Okay, a big farmland, only one house will be there, and another farmland here, and here there will be another house, like. And electricity line will go this way. Electricity line will go this way. Okay. Now, this owner has a well here, and he wants a bore well to be installed here. So wants electricity connection here. The distance from here to here approximately uh, almost 1 kilometer. Approximately 1 kilometer. Now, if you ask to get the connection from here to here, it's really tough. For one bore well, maximum what could be the revenue generated for one bore well? In a month, it may be 300 rupees or 500 rupees. Even for 100 units free, that will also be free. Most of the cases. For that, laying the electrical wire from here to here, at least it required so many lamp posts. For every 50 meters, 40 meters, you need to have one pole. For 1 kilometer, just think over how many poles need to be installed. For every pole installation, it costs 1 lakh. Suppose he needs to install for 1 kilometer 100 poles, it may be 1 crore for one small one, which is really costly. But if there is lots of bore facilities needed, this one for various customers, then this will be installed, and owner is ready to pay this amount, then electrical means electricity board can install this one. Owner has to pay money for this one. Okay. So applies to services provided by electricity distribution utilities, covers construction, erection, commissioning, installation of infrastructure. This is called infrastructure laid for transporting the distributing the electricity from here to here, and to connect the electricity network to the farmer's agricultural tube well for agricultural use. For this, the owner paid, say, around 10 lakhs rupees to get the connection. For this 10 lakhs, GST is not applicable. Okay, clear? Now, if you construct a single residential unit, okay, here we have seen what? Individual houses. Here we are talking about single residential unit, means in a flats we have n number of house properties. Okay, I purchase one of the flat. Okay, this is for A purchases this one. Pure labor, this single unit he constructs using the pure labor contracts, covers pure labor contracts for specific construction related activities, construction, erection, all these things, and only to a single residential unit. In that case, it is exempted. Exclude residential complexes, must be independent house. It should be independent. It should not be, but it should be independent houses, right? Clear? Now, with that labor concept related to the construction is also over. Passenger transportation services. Now, in case of passenger transportation services, we have airways, roadways, and railways, waterways. Okay, transport modes. In case of airways, 3 MN and tabs. If the embarking from or termination being any airport located in 3 MN tabs, exempted then. Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Bagdogra in West Bengal. In West Bengal, especially Bagdogra and Sikkim. In these areas, if there is any embarking port as well as terminating, automatically exemption will be given. Else, tax will be leviable. In case of roadways, stage carriage carrying more than 6 passengers, okay, including local bus, interstate transport bus. Air condition is taxable, non-air condition is exempted. Contract carriages, okay, like bus and van, etc. We organized a program in Kodaikanal, a day trip, like we went and returned, no, a single day. We contracted a bus or van for the day only, right? If that is for that is air conditioned contract carriage and taxable. If that same will be non-air conditioned contract carriage, then exempted, but not supplied through ECO. So if the van is taken in rental, that van being non-AC, then GST will not be leviable. In case of AC, GST will be leviable. Even in case of radio taxi, applied for tourism, conducted tour, charter or hire, then GST will be leviable. Okay. So in case contract carriages for radio air conditioned one or radio taxi, tourism purpose, tour purpose or charter or hire. Charter means hire only, right? In those cases, that will come under GST. In case of metered cabs, auto rickshaws, including e-rickshaws, three-wheeler, power is less than or equal to 4,000 watts in case of e-rickshaws. Okay, GST will not be leviable, but if it is routed through Ola and Uber, ECO, then GST will be leviable. Okay, if it is not routed through ECO, GST will not be leviable. Railway in a class other than first class and air conditioned. So first class and air conditioned railways are always be taxable. General class and sitting unreserved will be not taxable. Okay. Metro, monorail and tramway. Metro, monorail or tramway are taxable. Is that clear? Always be exempted. Sorry. This one exempted. Metro, monorail and tramway being exempted. Waterways. Inland waterways are exempted. And waterways used for public transport other than predominantly for tourism. It should not be in tourism. Okay, if it is not being the tourism, then public transport purpose, the waterways are used, ship and boats are used, then tax will not be leviable. But that is tourist based waterways are available, right? So boating and all, for the GST is applicable. Now, services provided to central government. Okay, X render service to, let's see here. Ritu Raj has booked air tickets in economy class of flight from Delhi to Guwahati. So Delhi to Guwahati, Assam. Okay. So here is an airport. Here is an airport. Now, the airport sometimes constructed much far away from the residential area. In Trichy, no, Trichy to Chennai, I prefer to go for flight also sometimes. Okay, at least to have the feel to go for flight. What happens, the travel time, I think it's 30 minutes. But I have to be at least 30 minutes away earlier. And from here to there, I need to spend around half an hour at least to travel. It means 1.5 hours will be lost for going there. From Chennai, it's in Meenambakam. From there to go to Central, it takes another 1 hour. So I thought, I calculated all the time, it is almost 5 hours. If I go by car, it is 5 hours only. So comfortable, I can go by car. So what happens, because of the distance to reach the port, the airport becomes non-familiar. Hmm? Now what happens, there may be services rendered to transport the passenger from here to various other places at free of cost. If you go by flight, after landing, you will be transported to your closer residential place at your air conditioned bus at free of cost. So do I want to pay money for that? No, sir. Money will be payable by Government of India. How? Routed through any fund specifically meant for this purpose. In that case, the service rendered for this one will be exempted. By way of transport of passengers with or without accompanied belongings, by air embarking from or terminating at an RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme Airport. This is called RCM, RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme. Against consideration in the form of viability gap funding. For this, fund is given from a special funding scheme, viability gap funding. However, nothing contained in this entry shall apply on or after the expiry of period 3 years from the date of commencement of the operation of the Regional Connectivity Scheme Airport as notified by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. The moment it is announced as RCS, from there 3 years they can enjoy this benefit. Thereafter, automatically GST will be leviable. So we have completed the passenger transport services. Now let's move on to the goods transportation services. Goods transportation services. Is that okay? We will move on to the goods transportation services. Services by way of transportation of goods. Either it may be by road or inland water. Road or inland water. Okay. In case service of goods by road, if it is being the GTA and courier agency, GST is leviable. Not being the GTA and courier agency, exempted. By air, by Indian inland waterway, also exempted. Okay. Apart from that, two things are going to be noted here. Some aspects are exempted by rail, and transportation in GTA, goods carriage services, GTA services. If you are transporting by rail or a vessel, including coastal transport, from one place in India to another of the random R goods. Here, random V goods. Okay, you can understand this one. This is most probably asked in the questions. Random. R represents relief materials, A represents agricultural produce, N represents newspaper, D represents defense, organic manure for O, milk, salt, food grain for M, random. So these are the items are transported through railways will be exempted, including railways goods. Any railway equipment transported using the rail will be exempted. Their own goods, no. So random is common. Random is common. Relief material meant for victims of natural or man-made disasters, calamities, accidents, or mishaps. This will be railways only. And agricultural produce, registered newspaper and magazines, defense or military equipment, organic manure, milk, salt, food grain, including flours, pulses, and rices. Then R represents railway equipment or materials transported by rail will be exempted. Transported by rail will be exempted. In case of international transport in vessels also. In case of international transportation in vessels, by Indian shipping company, FCM is followed, and for foreign shipping company, RCM basis will be followed. Forward charge and reverse charge. Indian ship means they will have the registration number with them, so they can pay the tax. In case of foreign ship, recipient, enjoyer should pay the charges under RCM basis. In case of GTA services, random plus V. Random will be the same like what we referred earlier for the railways. V represents based on the value of goods transported. If the single consignee, if I transport the goods using a mini tempo or whatever it may be, the consignment value is less than 750 in a bulk container. ABD parcel services in their lorry, they will transport this one. They will transport this one, okay, in the lorry. Okay. So here A's product is also there, B's product also there, C's product also there. For every product, that value being less than or equal to 750, then exempted. If I book a tempo traveler only for transporting my own item, then 1500 will be the value. Consideration, I am not talking about the value of the commodity, I am talking about the bill of transportation, bill for transportation. The amount I pay for the transporting my item from one place to another place, my item only in a single goods carriages, then the value payable 1500 means GST will not be there. Yes, GST is leviable. In a multiple goods transporting, it includes not only my goods, it will include all other goods also. In that case, the value is less than 500 rupees for my goods, GST will not be applicable. So random R, here random V. Services provided by GTA to an unregistered person, okay, including unregistered CTP, okay, then GST will not be applicable. Otherwise, GTA will be applicable under RCM basis. We have already studied in case of GTA services under RCM. If GTA renders services to whom? Registered factory, society, and all we have seen. All these things are registered. In case of firm, registration not required. That's what we discussed. But if the recipient being unregistered, then it is exempted. It is exempted. So it is covered here. Rest covered in RCM basis. Clear? Services provided by GTA by way of transport of goods in a goods carriage. To whom? Government, local authority, government agencies exempted. Okay? Though they have been registered one due to section 51. I register only due to the section 51 means tedious purpose. Then I am not considered for the registration purpose in this case. So then GTA. So GTA to the registered person, GTA will be applicable. But I register only due to the section 51's applicability. I don't want to register for other reasons. Then I may not be considered for the registration here. So GST is not applicable here. Clear? Now, let's see the question here. Discuss whether GST is payable in respect of transportation services provided by Raghav Goods Transport Agency in each of the following independent cases. Transport of milk. Milk will come under random. M represents milk and other things, right? Milk, salt, food grains including flours, pulses and rices. So, exempt. Transportation of books on consignment transported in a single goods carriage. Single goods carriage means value being up to 1500. So, taxable. Transportation of chairs for a single consignee. Single consignee means I am one of the consignees. Like this, I may have n number of consignees. In that case, the limit is 750 only. It is less than 750, so it is exempted. So these two are exempted. This one is taxable. So many provisions, but a question may be asked this way. You are not asked to write all the provisions. You need to answer only for a selected cases. It's much simpler than studying complete one, right? Next. We will now move on to the banking and financial services. Banking and financial services. Bank will render taxable supply as well as exempted supply. What are the exempted supply are going to be listed here? Like normal interest and any forex transaction, any charges is there normal. Those things will be exempted. Like covered services related to the interest and discount on deposits, loans or advances will be exempted. But credit card services will be totally taxable. Okay, credit card services, and the interest leviable on that also be taxable because the interest is very heavy. Covers interest C or purchasing of foreign currency. If the foreign currency is purchased between company banks, a bank purchases the foreign currency from the another bank, for that GST is not applicable. Amongst the authorized dealer of foreign exchange, banks and authorized dealer will not be taxable. So bank to bank, bank to dealer, and dealer to dealer, not taxable. And banking service under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. You might have heard about the Jan Dhan Yojana. So where the requirement is, the conditions to fulfill opening the savings bank account will be very, very lesser, and minimum balance also not required. In this case, GST will not be applicable. Cover specific services provided by the banking company, basic savings bank deposit account. That is called Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana scheme. Okay. Settlement of services by acquiring banks for small transactions. Okay. Now, acquiring bank means, okay, see, we have a Axis Bank credit card, SBI Bank credit card. We purchased an item, for that amount is payable to Axis Bank. Now, this payment is done by SBI, now asking you to pay directly to SBI hereafter. Your payment commitment to Axis Bank is now paid by SBI and you are supposed to pay to only SBI Bank. This is called SBI Bank being the acquirer bank of the services from Axis. So now the responsibility of mine is from Axis to SBI. The responsibility to Axis is now transferred to SBI though. If the transaction value is less than 2000 exemption, otherwise taxable. So any banking company, SBI, financial institution including non-banking financial corporation, any other entity that processing payment to business accepting card transactions. Okay, card transaction. Because of that one, you are transferring from here to there. GST will not be applicable. Okay, but applies to transactions made using credit card, debit card, charge card, or other payment card services, and the GST will be applicable. And for acquiring bank, cover service provided by an acquiring bank, but settlement amount up to 2000 is not taxable. Up to 2000, small number, not taxable. Now, financial intermediary services in multi services CES, IFSC. Okay, International Financial Services Center. Okay, if it is routed through International Financial Services Center, any services rendered by them usually not taxable. Okay, not taxable. Okay, you understand only IFSC, that's more than enough. IFSC, International Financial Services Center, is available in is situated in Gujarat, Gandhinagar. Okay, only there only it is available in India. Services rendered by IFSC not taxable. Come on. Mrs. Apna Bank Limited, a scheduled commercial bank, has furnished the following details for the month of August. Extended housing loan to its customer. Housing loan, GST is not applicable because it's a normal loan. Processing fee collected from its customer on sanctioning loan, taxable. This will be applicable for the GST. Commission collected from its customers on the bank guarantee, also not falling being the interest on savings bank and loan, so taxable. Interest income on credit card issued by the bank. Credit card interest is taxable. Interest received on housing loan extended by the bank. Housing loan exempted, not taxable. Minimum balance charge collected. Minimum balance charge, definitely GST will be applicable because it's not banking services like interest. So the overall taxable value here being 91 rupees. Overall taxable value being 91 rupees. Is that clear? Now, next. Life insurance business services. Life insurance business. Life insurance services under National Pension System or life insurance for armed forces or life insurance for Coast Guard personnel and life insurance for Central Armed Force sources. Okay. All these things are exempted. Okay. Now, let me explain. So, LIC offers insurance services to some X, getting the premium. GST will be applicable. But under NPS scheme or life insurance offered for armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard personnel, Coast Guards, okay, for them, and armed police force, okay. Any life insurance premium payable to them not falling under the GST, not falling under GST. You no need to understand the explanations and definitions and all here. Life insurance services provided through annuity under NPS, Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority, PF or RDA, pension fund that will also be exempted. Army Group Insurance Fund, Naval Group Insurance Fund, Air Force Group Insurance Fund, and Coast Guard means again related to the naval only, Naval Group Insurance Fund, Group Insurance Scheme of the Coast Guard, all these things are exempted. Central Armed Forces. So, easily you can remember what's that? NPS, Army, and registered PF, Coast Guard, and police personnel. That's all. You no need to read all these things, only the key words more than enough for this content. Okay. Similarly, life insurance under various social welfare scheme introduced by the government. All the schemes, okay, will be in Hindi, not understandable. You can easily understand those terms are always be exempted. If it is being in some Hindi terms and you are not able to easily read, like Janashri, Aam Aadmi, Life Micro Insurance Product, Varshita Pension, and Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Pradhan Mantri, okay, all the Pradhan Mantri will be exempted. Including general insurance also. See, lots of general insurance like hut, cattle, Janada, personal, agricultural pump set, Prima, all these things are exempted. Do I want to remember all these things? No, not required. One happy thing, not required to remember all these things. Is that okay? So, in case of life insurance and general insurance, most of the cases they exempted. Life insurance, especially Army, Naval, and NPS, registered pension fund, all these things, PF fund will be exempted. And some social welfare based insurance schemes are exempted. In case of general insurance, small farmer like and hut like exempted. Okay. Now, services rendered by ESI, PF, and whatever the PF may be, Coal Mine Provident Fund, National Pension Fund, ESI, EPF exempted. In pension, Atal Pension Yojana or central government, state government scheme pension fund, all these things are exempted. All these things are exempted. Simply recognized pension scheme and ESI schemes are exempted. Now, entry number 39. Entry number 39. Okay. Now, let me try to finish up this one. Services by business facilitator or business correspondent to banking company. In case of banking company, bank, there may be business facilitator or business correspondent. What are the facilities needed for the banker to facilitate bank's development? Account opening, right? So they will have lots of marketing guys to open the account and sell the loan products. They are called business facilitator or business correspondent. And especially this bank should be in rural area, rural branch. Services related to accounts in rural area branches. Accounts means account opening, helping to deposit further and collect and deposit all these values. Includes facilitation of banking services such as deposits, withdrawals, and remittances. Okay, will be totally exempted. Now, A, render service to business facilitator or banking business correspondent. Business facilitator may be an entity. They may have around 10 employees with them. And A being the contract laborer with him. A gives the account opening support. Okay, so he brings around 10 clients to open their branch account here. A. Okay. So bank will make the payment to them and business facilitator will make the payment to them. For all these services, no, GST is not applicable except some cases RCM basis will be applicable. Already we have seen. Okay. In case of rural, nothing is taxable. In case of urban, RCM basis will be applicable. We have already studied in case of RCM, debt recovery agent collections and account opening collections. Intermediary services, A rendering services to them, no, this is called intermediary services. Directly business facilitator renders service to the banker, or A renders to business facilitator, business facilitator ultimately renders service to the banker is called intermediary. Also be exempted. Okay. In case of insurance company, business facilitator or business correspondent rendering services, that too, this is being in rural area exempted. What about sir? If A renders service to business facilitator and business correspondent, this will not be applicable. For the banking company is different, for insurance company is different. For the banking company, business facilitator, business correspondent and intermediary also be eligible. But in case of insurance company, only facilitator and correspondent are eligible for enjoying this exemption benefit. That too, these two should be in where? Rural areas. Right. And services provided to government. Any services you provide to government, okay, like panchayat and municipality. So panchayat and municipality can do services like sewerage, keeping the city clean and all the services done by municipality and panchayat. But rather than municipality doing this work, they can outsource to third party. Okay. So what happens here? General public and municipality. General public will pay the tax, sewerage tax and property tax, water tax and all, underground drainage water tax, drainage tax and all the tax levied. Municipality will keep it clean for the public's welfare. And rather than doing it by himself, municipality entrusted to ABC Private Limited Company or ABC Company. Now, ABC renders these services to the public by collecting a fees from the municipality. Now, municipality is free. So, that collection of the dust and wastage, now handed over to third party. The third party, the private player will play the role of doing all these things for the fees. So, municipality collects the tax and keeps some amount and transfers that to the private party. Now, this one renders services to the municipality only. No, for that also GST is not applicable. Either municipality directly does or routed through third party, then the third party render services on behalf of the municipality also be exempted. Okay. In case of composite supply of goods and services both, to government is usually exempted where the value of the goods should be less than or equal to 25% of the contract value. Right. So, the same municipality services, ABC renders some services. That service includes services, supply of services, not only supply of services. Sometimes it involves goods also. Okay. In this case, the total value being 100 means the value of goods should be less than or equal to 25 rupees only. What? Sometimes the ABC Limited provides the dustbin also. And not only rendering services, they will do some goods supply services also. In that case, the goods worth should not be more than 25%. In that case, the service provided to municipality will also be exempted. Not only supply of services, it includes some goods component also, but goods value is less than 25%, then automatically that will also be exempted. Now, services to government health authority for water supply, public health, sanitation, already we studied on the same here, also be exempted. And fair price shops, rations. Okay, any goods supplied through public distribution system, PDS, fair price shop or rations, grains, kerosene, sugar, edible oil. And for that a commission or margin is recovered, also be exempted. And services under government insurance scheme. The earlier itself we have seen any services like insurance, whatever it may be, training, for that government pays the premium or consideration is totally exempted. The same comes here. Premium is paid by government is exempted. Premium paid is by the government, so exempted. Same service also. In case of training, if the fee is paid by whom? By the government, then it is exempted, provided. Okay. Exemption applies to training programs where 75% or more of the total expenditure is borne by central government, state government, union territory. If training service is done to the government, for the training, 75% or more cost is reimbursed by the central government, or they are paying, then exempted. Covers programs aid at skill development and capacity building. Clarification given: free coaching services provided under scholarship for students with the disability scheme also be exempted. Skill development programs, just while starting the lecture I gave the example, right? Skill development, NCVT, SCVT, skill development, skill India, in under those banner any amount is paid by the government for training the students, no, fully exempted, fully exempted. Now, upfront amount on long term lease, okay. So I explained that under RCM cases, immobile property, okay, floor space index and all, and property development for corporates, means industries. So a land is developed, already explained during the RCM topic discussed, right? A road may be paved here or there, a big 1 acre and 2 acre land may be developed where water connection, electricity connection, everything will be inbuilt. If I want to establish a factory, I can take it in lease and I can establish my factory where I get all the facilities available. I cannot start interior places where we don't have the electricity, transport facilities, and all. So, this is called development. For that lease period, maybe 30 years or 40 years. Any lease payment I pay for that, no, for that GST is not applicable. Granting long term lease 30 years or more for industrial plots, plots for development of infrastructure for financial business, exempt if provided by state government industrial development corporation, okay. And the other entity, either it may be directly state government or other entity with 20% or more ownership by the government. The payment done like premium, no, named as premium, salami, cost, price, development charges, whatever the name may be, completely exempted. Provided industrial units are developers in an industrial or financial business area, it should be a financial area or business area. Sipcot, and here you might have heard Tuakodi Industrial Estate, and there in Chennai we have Industrial Estate OT name. It's out of my memory. Okay. Those are the areas where the land is developed for industry purpose. For that, the users will pay a premium. That premium or royalty payment in the very beginning will not be totally exempted. Totally exempted. Now, the main condition being to avail this exemption, the leased plots must be used only for the intended industrial or financial activity, and state government will monitor whether they are misusing or not. Violation happens, then CGST is applicable along with the interest. Lease transfer condition, you cannot transfer as you wish, there will be some conditions. So 30 years, you know, I purchased the property, leased that property for 35 years, but 10 years later I want to transfer to somebody else. Okay, it can be transferred, there should be some condition properly laid here. So with that, all the concepts, predominant concepts are over. We'll now deal few more aspects here, including legal services. Legal services. Okay. Now, legal services, I have given this as a table. Okay. Now, A, R, ABC, and Co. First one is individual advocate. Next one is firm of advocates. Rendering legal services to A or B or probably I or IJK and Co. IJK and Co. So one legal entity to the another legal entity, legal service given, or senior advocates to them legal advice is given, or business entity unregistered or business entity registered. In all these cases, exemption. One legal advisor gives the legal advice consultancy to another legal advisor. Okay, legal advisor cannot be expert in all. Being the cost accountant or chartered accountant, I cannot be expert in all the areas. Okay, see, most of the chartered accountants are doing only what? Tax filing and tax consultancy services. They will not go for some other services like MSME services or import and export related licensing and other services. Those things are specialized. Some professionals will qualify themselves in some aspects. FEMA services. Somebody will be expert in company formation, incorporation services like. Similarly, I am being the legal advisor. X comes to me to get consultancy about opening a company. I'm not expert in that, so my friend, who is also advocate, expert in opening, so I'll get consultancy from him. I pay him 1,000 rupees fees. I add another 500 rupees. I collect 1,500 rupees from my client. So that will be called legal services by an advocate to the another advocate, or a firm of advocates to the another firm of advocates, or senior advocates. He is well versed. For him also, I can give the services, or any business entity which is unregistered. But if registered means taxable under RCM basis. Now the situation is different. Instead of that, advocate being senior advocate and being the arbitral tribunal, rendering service. In this case, one extra will also be taxable, which is this one. In case of blue color, this one will be taxable. In addition to that, right? So individual and individual advocate and firm of advocates rendering services to individual and firm of advocates, senior advocates, business entity where the aggregate turnover is less than the limit 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, and 40 lakhs limit requires no registration in that case, and registered business. Here only RCM basis is applicable. In all other cases, including the service rendered to the government, will be exempted. In case of senior advocate to senior advocate is taxable. Senior advocate to individual advocate, this one also be taxable. Sorry, this one also be taxable. Okay. If the service rendered by the senior advocate to any advocate, including junior as well as senior, or it may be taxable under forward charges usually, and this case RCM will be applicable. Legal services. Next. Sponsorship of sports event. Okay, exempt sponsorship of sporting events organized by. If the sports events organized by National Sports Federation, affiliated federations, where the individual representing any district, state, zone, and country exempted. Not for fundraising programs, like sometimes the game show may be conducted for fundraising, that will not be. Association of Indian University, Inter-University Sports Board, School Games Federation, All India Sports and Para-Olympic Committee, Special Olympic Bharat, Civil Service, Central Civil Service Cultural and Sports Board, Indian Olympic, Panchayat Yuva Krida Aur Khel Abhiyan. In these schemes, all these things are approved sports body. If they are rendering any sports activity representing for the nation's important or state important, then will be exempted. Okay. Now, already we discussed the skill development services like NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, NCVT, and all the schemes. Exemption applies services provided by NSDC, NCVT, awarding bodies recognized by awarding bodies, assessing bodies, training bodies, right? NSDC can train the public students at free of cost. This service is exemption. NSDC appoints some third party A to train students, and payment is done, and A will train them. To check whether the students got properly trained, NSDC appoints B for assessing the students after the training. This is called assessment. Assessment done. For these two, NSDC makes the payment to A and B. Now A and B rendered service to NSTC no for a consideration. This is not taxable, and these services to them also be exempted. So awarding bodies. What are the awarding bodies? Probably A or B. Assessing body, training body, probably degree. So once training is completed, once assessment is over, this is intimated, and C will be the one more body who gives the certification, awarding body. Directly NSTC can conduct and give the certification, or training is given to A, assessment given to B, and as awarding given to C. A, B, C all gets a revenue or remuneration or consideration from NST for their services will also be accepted. Is that clear? And what sort of services are exempted? Okay. What are the scheme NSTC, NCBT, and National Skill Qualification Framework and approved NCBT qualification, whatever it may be, completely exempted. Completely exempted. Is that okay? Now, assessment services. Director General of Training, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Similar to what? This assessment. C is doing assessment services. No. Similarly, assessment services done as per the requirement of Director General of Training or Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship will be totally exempted. Totally exempted. And training, their assessment here training under these two, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, DDUGKY, NCVT, and these things. So earlier one being the assessment, this will be the training. Both will be automatically exempted under the specific cases. Now, this one is most often asked in the examination. Services by an artist by way of performance in folk or classical art form, like music, dance, theatre, folk and classical art. Okay, totally exempted provided if the consideration being less than or equal to 1,50,000 rupees. If the value is more than 1,50,000, taxable. Okay, music, dance, theatre. Services provided by the brand ambassador. If you are representing for a brand promotion, because of that, if you are organizing any music concert or dance program, then GST will be leviable. Okay, this one is very often asked in the examination. Let's see, to master this, we'll see an illustration here. Determine the GST payable, if any, in each of the following independent cases, assuming that the rate of GST is 18%. Bollywood dance performance by film actor in a film and consideration charge. Film. Okay, taxable. That's a commercial substance, automatically taxable. Carnatic music, that's called a folk, okay, will be exempted by a classical singer to promote brand. It should not be for any promotional purpose. So taxable. Here brand promotion is there. Carnatic music performance by classical singer in a music concert and consideration charged is 1,55,000. It should be within 1,50,000, so taxable. Kathak dance performance by a classical dancer. So classical dancer, Kathak okay. Cultural program also okay, not being the brand, and the consideration is also okay. So this will be exempted. Is that clear? Now, next one. Services by way of admission to museum, national park, wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserve or zoo. All these things are exempted, but not being theme park, film city, cinema hall. Those things are taxable. Protected monument, which is declared under Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act or any other state act, then admission to that will be exempted. Okay, Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act. Okay, see, Tanjavur Temple also be renowned ancient monument archaeological sites only. So for that, if there is any entrance fees, no entrance fees is there, but if there is, GST will not be applicable. Taj Mahal and there the fort of Tipu Sultan. So I visited Tipu Sultan's fort. He had two forts, all were dilapidated because fought in the war and got totally destructed. Only the walls with 3 feet tall, rest will be demolished. There is no roof and all, lots of damages. That's why it is called remains. What remains there? Preserved. For visiting that, there will be entrance fees. For that, GST is not applicable. Exemption only if the consideration is in these cases. If the consideration is less than or equal to 500 per person, then exempted. Okay. Like circus, dance, theatrical performance including drama or ballet, award function, concert, pageant, musical performance, any sporting event other than a recognized sporting event. Recognized sporting event is always exempted. Non-recognized commercial substances there means the value is less than 500 exempted. Recognized sporting event also comes under this. First one is non-recognized, another is recognized. Here also, like IPL, if the tariff is more than 500, GST is applicable. Planetarium, here also the value is less than 500, not taxable, it is taxable. Now, what is called recognized sporting events? Sporting event. Anything organized by recognized sporting sports body will be called as recognized sporting event, not taxable. Okay, organized by National Sports Federation. Then already we discussed that, no, Panchayat Yuva Grid and all, you can recollect here. Okay, this one also be similar. Now, 77, services to own members, unincorporated body. Okay, Residential Welfare Association and Residential Welfare Association rendering services to their member. In a flats association, they have formed in a flats association. Members are paying the subscription fees. For that, common services like keeping clean within the campus and electricity, light and other facilities provided commonly. For that services, whatever the amount collected will not be falling under GST provided. The monthly consideration per flat being less than 7,500 or 7,500. If it is more than 7,500, taxable. And this RWA association annual turnover is more than 20 lakhs, then also be taxable. In these two cases, not taxable. The association overall consideration is less than 20 lakhs, not taxable. Or the monthly contribution per flat is 7,500, then also be not taxable. Is that clear? Now, services by non-profit entities. Services by non-profit entities. Okay, where the membership fees is less than or equal to 1,000 rupees per month per year, not taxable, else taxable. Is that clear? Some other exempted services are there. If you are transferring your business as a going concern, GST will not be applicable. If you are renting the house property for residential dwelling, not subject to GST. Accommodation services provided where the value being less than or equal to 20,000 rupees per month per person per month provided for minimum 90 days continuously, GST will not be leviable. Satellite launch services, SLV, okay, that services will not be taxable. Hiring of vehicles by the government from the private players, state transport undertakings, okay. During the Diwali and other festivals, the buses are very limited and the tariff fixed may be exorbitantly skyrocketed. So what happens there? The government gets the vehicles, buses from various private players that they own, and that buses will be released in the name of government. So automatically what happens? They will fix the tariff nominally. So government pays the rent or whatever it may be to the private players. That will not be taxable. Exempt for state transport undertakings, local authorities, GTA, education institutions. Okay, here it should be carrying more than 12 passengers. 12 passengers. Road bridge toll charges. Okay, road bridge toll charges. For that, GST will not be deductible. Okay, and transmission and distribution of electricity. Any amount charged for transmitting the electricity, for that GST is not applicable. Electricity related services, whatever it may be, supplying the electricity, shifting the meter, whatever it may be, for that GST is not applicable. And services by incubate services where the service provider's turnover is less than or equal to 50 lakhs means he is not required to pay the GST, and that too the incubate is within 3 years of agreement as an incubate. So for the 3 years only. After the 3 years, he has to start pay the GST, right? Research and development services. Research and development services exempt when provided against the grants. If you are getting any grants from the University Grants Commission, UGC, or any government entity or any association, universities, from there, if you are doing any research activities and that activity involves no GST. Technology and bio incubators also not falling under GST. News agency exempt for services. Okay. Independent Journalist, Press Trust of India, UNI, United News of India. So these three entities, services will be totally exempted. So PTA and UNI. For example, the Hindu, you read lots of news, right? So you'll get news from Hindu, right? How the Hindu gets the news? Okay, they will purchase the news and they will have their own reporters to collect the news. Hindu pays a salary periodically and the reporters will give the news to Hindu to be published. And it is published with the verification and ensured. If news received from the reporters not sufficient enough, they cannot have the reporters throughout the world. Somewhere in the outskirts, means any corner of the world, the news may not be available. Then there may be some independent journalist. He gets the news and he now sells the news to Hindu for a price. Rather than independently, collectively 4 or 5 persons put together will form an entity. Such entity being PT, Press Trust India, United News India. They collect the news and sell the news to Hindu, Dinamalar, Indian Express, whatever the news printing press there, no, they will collect, they sell the news and get the cash. So if you come across reading any news article hereafter in any newspaper, see below that simply there will be PTI or UNI message will be there. What does it mean? This news is purchased from PTA. If there is any wrong news, you can take the action on PTA. There's no any PTA or UNI, it's their own news from their own report. You can now sue on Hindu also in case of wrong news. Reuters or routers, sometimes you might have heard about, they are also one of the big news provider. So all the newspapers, what you see, no, Hindu, Indian Express, and what Times of India, whatever it may be, they don't have the reporters sufficient enough to collect the required news. But today in YouTube, lots of news is there. I think it seems to be rumor, but named as news. Huh? But everything is collected. They are not being responsible for the news they publish in the YouTube, right? And services by an organizer, okay, to any persons in respect of business exhibition held outside India. Okay, if the business exhibition held outside India, not in India, the organizer gets some fees, for that GST is not available. But if the exhibition conducted within India for a fee, then GST is available. And processing of fruits and vegetables like preconditioning, cooling, ripening, waxing, packing, labeling, all these activity are exempted. Cold chain development services also be exempted. Foreign diplomatic mission services, national permit for goods and carriages, and you get the services from Rights to Information Act by paying the fees for that. GST is not applicable. Services recognized to sports body, okay, BCCI, okay, it's a recognized sports body where Kohli renders services as being the player or somebody being the referee, umpire, coaches, team managers. For that services, the fees or salary is payable. No, for that GST is not applicable. But recipient should be recognized sports body. And BCCI to ICC. Okay, this is also recognized sports body. This is also recognized sport body. In that case, also not taxable. If the same service rendered by Kohli to some private entity for promotional activity purpose, then GST would be applicable. Public conveyances like bathroom, washrooms, lavatory, urinal and toilets, for that the fee is collected, right? For that GST is not available or GST is not applicable. Don't say 10 rupees for urinal to use the urinal, pay 1 rupee tax, 11 rupees. Huh? That will not be applicable here. So these are the broader outlook of GST. Let me discuss some illustrations asked in the exams so that you will be able to understand where to focus while studying the exemption cases. Exempt supply includes supply of any goods and services or both which attracts nil rate of tax, which may be wholly exempt from tax but excludes non-taxable supply. Discuss the validity. No. All the three will be falling under exempt supply only. Zero rated will not come here. Nil rated, exempt, non-taxable supply. All the three will be called as exempt supply. Examine which of the following independent services are exempt from GST. Food supplied by a canteen run by hospital to inpatient as advised by the doctors. What about this scenario? What about this scenario? Taxable. Now you join with me to answer this. Okay, taxable, because if I ask you to recollect all the points, definitely not possible. But if I ask you to guess the answer, you can guess easily. Come on. Food supplied by the canteen run by hospital to the inpatient as advised by the doctors? Exempt. Residential Welfare Association registered at GST collects the maintenance charges 6,000 per month per member. What about the scenario? Taxable or exempted? Exempted. What is the number? 7,500. Now you'll be able to understand where to focus. An individual acts as a referee in a football match organized by Sports Authority of India. He has also acted as a referee in another charity football match organized by a local sports club. In lieu of a lump sum consideration, discuss whether the GST is payable on the activities undertaken by him or not. In the first case, exemption. In the second case, it is taxable. Okay. RXL private manufacturers buys a beauty shop manufactures beauty shop with a brand name Forever Young. RXL Private Limited has organized a concert to promote its brand. Mrs. Ahana Kapoor, its brand ambassador, who is leading film actress, has given a classical dance performance in the said concert. The proceeds of the concert worth rupees 120 will be donated to the charitable organization. Even that amount is donated to the charitable organization. Now we examine whether Ahana Kapoor will be required to pay the GST. Three conditions, right? One is it should be classical, folk, and the value should be less than or equal to 1,50,000, not being the brand ambassador. But here she is being the brand ambassador, disqualifies and taxable. Now, determine the taxable value of the supply under GST law with respect to each of the following independent services. Fee charged for yoga camp conducted by the charitable trust. Yoga camp exempted. Amount charged by the business correspondent from the banking company for the services provided to the rural branch. Business correspondent, business facilitated to the rural branch of the bank is exempted. Amount charged by cord blood bank already we discussed for prevention of stem cell. Okay, stem cell will be exempted. Amount charged for services provided by the selectors to recognized sport bodies. Okay, exempted. Any services, okay, we have seen referee, player, umpire, coach, team managers, including any other selectors. Team managers predominantly being the selectors. Okay, so will be exempted. Now, examine whether GST is exempted on the following independent supplies of services. Come on, guess this. Services provided by private transport operator to Scholar Boys Higher Secondary School in relation to transportation of students. So, private player, school, and service rendered for the students. Okay, school can give the services or private player can organize the services on behalf of the school. In both the cases, exempted. Services provided by way of vehicle parking to general public in shopping mall. There is no such a thing we have come across in exemption. This is taxable. A transport undertaking has hired motor vehicles meant to carry 8 to 10 passengers from fast cab renting, a motor vehicle renting company. So you are renting out of your motor vehicle. What is the seating capacity? Should be more than 12. Okay, but here it is 8 to 10. So taxable. So number you have to remember. Indiana Engineering College, a recognized education institution, has conducted an entrance test examination for various courses. An entrance fee is also be charged. Determine whether Indiana Engineering College is liable to pay the GST. Entrance examination is also part of the education activity only, so exempted. Bablu Transporters, a GTA, transported relief materials in goods carriage meant for victims of Kerala floods, natural floods, natural disaster by road from Delhi to Ernakulam. Bablu Transporter is of the view that it is not liable to pay GST on the said services provided as services are exempted. What is that? Random. Okay. In that, R represents what? Relief material. So, exempt. Kane Enterprises, an event organizer, provided services to Breathing Wall Limited by way of an organizing business exhibition in New Delhi. Already we studied that business exhibition outside India is exempted, but it is within India. So here we have seen no business exhibition. Okay, business exhibition outside India. See, you finish off answering some questions and then get back to the original exemption list where you mark it, where you can mark it. So this will be taxable as it is India, within India. Ram, an agriculturalist, has stored sugar cane. Sugar cane is a agriculture produce only. Sugar is different. Sugar cane is agriculture produce. He has taken fumigation services in the said warehouse from Gupta. Pest fumigation is nothing but pest. Okay, any medicines for the controlling the pest, for which he paid a consideration of 6,000. All these things are related to the agriculture produce only. So exempt. But storing sugar is different. This is sugar cane. Now, Purva acts as a team manager for Indian sports, recognized sports body for a tennis tournament organized by a multinational company, and received a remuneration. So, services rendered by team manager to recognized sports body, but here multinational company, so taxable, not being the recognized sports body for the sports event. Ekta Charitable Trust registered under section 10. So don't worry about section 12AA. Okay, 12AA, 12AB, even 10 also be applicable as a trust only. Manages a temple in Rohini, Delhi. It has given on rent a community hall located within the temple premises to public for celebration of Tej Mela. Rent charge being 9,500. Rent being 9,500. What is the rent limit here for the hall? 10,000 rupees. Okay, less than 10,000. It's not exactly 10,000. It should be less than 10,000. 9,999. Okay, rent will be exempted. In case of room, 1,000 rupees per day. In less than 1,000 rupees. In case of shop rent, less than 10,000 per month. ST Limited has given. ST Limited has given. Okay. On hire 5 trucks to Tittu Transporters Delhi GTA for transporting goods in central and west Delhi. The hiring charges for the trucks are 7,500. See, hiring of trucks is goods related, whatever it may be, transportation will be exempted only, including hire charges also, right? Discuss whether the following services are chargeable to GST. Services by way of transmission and distribution of electricity. Electricity services usually exempted. Some limited charges 3 lakhs for storage of warehousing of turmeric. Warehousing services exempted. B limited charges 1.5 lakhs of storage of potato chips. Okay, taxable. Okay. Services provided by post office by way of express parcel service. Parcel post. This will be available in private player also. If the similar service is available in private as well as government entity, then it is always taxable. Examine whether GST is exempted on the following independent supply of services. Teja Company, a tour operator, provides services to foreign tourists for tour conducted to Jammu and Kashmir and receives a sum of rupees 3 lakhs. Tour operator service is always taxable, especially in case of related to Hajj and Manasarovar, right? Purva acts as a team manager for ISL, okay, Indian Sports League, IPL, like, okay, a recognized sports body for a tennis tournament organized by Maruti brand retail company. This will be recognized as sport body, but this is not so. So definitely it is going to be taxable. Now, these questions were asked in the very beginning years of the question exams carrying 6 marks. Determine taxable value of supply under GST law. Amount charged for labor, unloading, loading, unloading, packing, and warehousing of potato chips. Potato chips, taxable. Fee charged for yoga camp conducted by charitable trust, exempted. Amount charged by business correspondent for the services provided to the rural branch of savings bank account, to a bank with respect to the savings bank account, exempted. Amount charged by cord blood bank for preservation of stem cell, exempted. Amount charged for the services provided for commentator. Commentator will be taxable. Okay, commentator will be taxable. Okay, because he is only speaking, doing no action. Huh? So nothing is there. Commentary, he is only giving the commentary, right, to entertain the program. So see here. Players, referee, umpires, we don't have the commentator here. Selector being a team manager, okay. Now, amount charged for services provided by way of right to an admission to circus. Circus means what is the limit? 500, but here 750 per person. So this is taxable. So once you try few exams question paper, you can guess where to focus while studying the exemption rather than studying the entire exemption component. Now, Bright Limited, a registered taxable person, provides the following information relating to the services for the month of September 2018. Running a boarding school, including receipts for providing residential dwelling services of 14 lakhs. Okay. So, school boarding lodging will also be provided, usually exempted. Private tuition, taxable. Education services for obtaining qualification recognized by law of a foreign country, should be in India, it's foreign country, taxable. Conductor modular employable skills courses approved by NCVT. NCVT is always exempted. And fees from prospective employers for campus interview, okay, will be taxable. This is not, certification is over, after that only you are spending, right? So it is always taxable. And renting a furnished flat for temporary stay. Temporary stay is always 90 days, no? Should be a continuous period at least 90 days. So taxable. Clear? So while listening the lecture on exemption, it's really very difficult. But after answering these questions, you will be satisfied where to focus. You will feel a comfort that the exemption chapter is okay. Otherwise, you will always get fed up with